week watching live.
Yeah,
That's
dude, it was
pretty
good.
surprised. All right, so connecting. Twitch is connecting. YouTube's connecting. Everything's connecting. Just waiting on the interwebs.
Stand by.
Stand by. You're the man now, dog. So, live recording episode 140. Watch page. Copy the link. At channel. Same bat time. Same bat channel. Send now. Live. Hey, Brograph.tv. That's live. Saved. That's live. I'm gonna share Facebook. Sharing as Dave calls. Share now with my friends. Yay! Live. Come hang out. Posted. Alright. Geez, already 11 people on YouTube. Alright. Looks like, now that I heard.
Yeah, well, that was Chelsea arriving. She's got my breakfast, so.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. That Kung Fu quesadilla.
The breakfast of schmoopians.
Yeah, it's the best. It's like sriracha chicken with like delicious coconut rice and all sorts of goodness.
All right.
Ooh. Oh, I didn't give you guys notes. That would probably help, correct?
Sure. I don't care about your notes.
Well, your notes are in there too.
Oh, hey, people can see me. I need to reload this chat.
It's today is David Ariev, me, and Dave. But I've got a heart out. I am moving today. Today is moving day.
It's movie day, it is, Governor.
Well, today and tomorrow. When you see me next week, me? Who's me? Who is me? Everyone is me. I know, right? Finally moving. When you see me next week, I'll have an all-new setup behind me that's gonna be beautiful and glorious. And my internet is gonna be amazing. It's 1 gigabit. Classic lineup. I like that.
Classic lineup. It's got some really good topics.
Who's moving to San Diego?
No, I am not moving to San Diego.
Oh yeah, no.
I am moving to Rockwall, Texas. Right, potato.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This computer takes 10 seconds to just paste this stuff into the chat. What is going on? There we go. There you go. Did you get them notes just now?
Maybe.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right.
Oh,
I'm gonna go live here so they can see our faces. So that's fun.
That's fun.
Zoom myself out just a
I got so I picked up a NES Classic.
No. Nice. See, now you got the Super NES and the NES. Aren't they making? They're making like a GameCube one too. Nice.
Oh, I sure hope so. I hope so.
That's what I've heard. Supposedly.
Yeah. I ended up actually getting 2 because I
All
was
right,
really
y'all
worried
ready?
that it was. Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
Yes,
Hold on,
sure.
let me roll. All right, I'm rolling.
Rolling.
Oh yeah, I need to do that.
Check.
Check.
Good.
All right. Matt's got his space song that he needs to do for everyone.
Damn it, everyone.
All right, all the stuff and things is running. Got this here. Got call recorder going.
What's up? I'm Matt, and I'm out.
Yeah. All right. All right. 'Cause I don't know. 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 ' Okay, everybody rolling?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Let's do the clap. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
So out of sync.
It's all right.
Wrong. See, y'all, from my perspective.
Jason, you're in Carlsbad? You're in Texas? Is that Texas or New Mexico? Carlsbad, New Mexico.
Carlsbad is in California. He's like really close to me. That's like 20 minutes away. Dude, we should hang out.
I was thinking
Assuming-
Carlsbad Caverns, right?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know where that is.
How bad is Carl? Pretty bad.
I see what you did
That's
there.
hilarious. Your dad jokes have just gotten to the next level.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, you don't even.
Let's do this.
All right, here we go. What up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Brocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And I'm David.
And Brograph is a supplement to our site, Brograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other MoGraph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. And you can email us, Brograph@Brograph.com. Send us your emails. Let us know what you think of the show, what you want to hear about on the show. The topics could be anything ranging from noob to something super complicated or not necessarily technical. It could be anything, maybe about running a business or working for the man, whatever it is. Send us an email, Brograph@Brograph.com. And this week, David Ariev is here.
Yay!
It's been a while.
Fresh
Been
off,
a while. What's that song you sing?
fresh off his stint of creating more amazing, beautiful artwork.
Yeah,
When are you going to be able
yeah.
to release that?
Less than 2 weeks.
right.
Right now it's exclusive on Apple Music. But yeah, I think it's like just less than 2 weeks. I'll be able to blast it out to the world, and finally it'll be off my mind forever. Because while it looks good on the reel, you know, it was a slog for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm really glad. Like the whole time I was like empathizing with the characters and like the little flower petals. I'm like, it's just like me. I'm trying to escape the ice cave. I'm almost there. I can see the light. I'm almost there. Yeah.
That's funny. You know, we just finished up like a big project that we've been working on for 2 months as
really?
well.
Was
you
it
know,
the projection gig or
the
what?
projection map, yeah.
yeah.
So
So we'll be able to talk about what it actually is.
Yeah, next
here in a
week.
few days.
yeah.
Sweet.
So I don't know. It's like, so I guess all three of us are on this like big relief of it's like you just got done with the big project, you know, and it's probably going to be one of the biggest ones of the year, you know, and you're just like, it's that relief that comes with it. So we're all on like this mega big high right now.
Well, we've got two more
and no,
projections.
Because
we
now
got two
I've
more
got
projections coming. So
I've got another 2-month music video like starting
Oh,
next
boy.
week. I'm just torturing myself basically.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Dude, you're going to become like the music video guy.
Basically.
Like-
yeah.
mhm.
Is that what you wanted to do?
I don't know.
I don't know.
All right. There it is.
If it lets me make like full CG stuff, and I'm all
Uh-huh.
about it, you know. So yeah, but I mean, it gets overwhelming to do like all these hard projects. Like last week, I did like a super easy removals project, and I was like, wow, this is great. I'm making
Yeah.
money. I'm not
Mhm.
thinking. I'm listening to
Uh-huh.
podcasts. This is the best. Why am I doing this to myself?
Mm-hmm.
All this learning,
Yeah,
growing is terrible.
but that'll get tedious too, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's true. You
And
gotta
the
mix it up.
$750 electric bill.
Yes,
Right?
that was awesome.
yeah, seriously, man, I don't understand that. I've never had any major spikes in electricity.
I think
So-
it's partially California prices, and then also
Probably.
because I'm running so many cards,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's going to be even more. Like I just reinvested, and now I'm going to have 8 1080 Ti's and 2 980 Ti's.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I'm
You know, I
saving
was-
up. I'm gonna build a new system next month. By the by, and so I'm gonna put like something, you know, mid-range in it because I'm gonna wait for the 1180s and then fill it up with 1180s when they come
yeah,
out.
that's a good idea. I'll do that
Yeah.
for my third system. I think my goal ultimately is to have 8 1080 Ti's and then another system with 4 whatever the next card is, you know, 1180 Ti. So I'll wait for that
Yeah.
on the third system. Yeah.
Those are supposed to be pretty killer. So I
know,
think
hold
I'm
on
going to try
real
and
quick.
do that build live on the
Yeah.
internet.
Nice. That's
that'll be
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
With all the
So I was
frustration
looking with the new house that we're moving into, I was looking at different electricity plans because I wanted to make sure that I was getting the best one. They have some electricity plans where they don't charge you anything at night. And I was thinking, that might
a
be
good idea.
good,
Do
because
all
then
the
I could
renders at night.
do all my renders at night.
It's a great idea.
That's true. But if you look at those plans, really, you end up paying a lot more during the day.
Yeah.
You got to go to powertochoose.org if you live in Texas.
I did that, and it's like, but I use so much electricity every month that it's like, it doesn't make any of it worth it. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a great place to go in order to find the lowest per, what is it? The watted
per kilowatt hour or something.
Kilowatt hour? Yeah.
People keep like advising me to get a bunch of solar panels. Just like put solar panels all over my roof. And
here's the thing: if your electricity bill is $750, then it would be worth it. But we had a Tesla guy come to our house the other day to basically you're paying like $300 a month for all of these all the stuff, and it's over the course of like 20 years.
Yeah,
so
it takes
just
a long time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
Solar City is the same.
The
as
other funny thing is that some people are like, when I posted that, they were like, you're gonna get, the police is gonna come to your house and think that you're growing a bunch of weed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously,
I've heard of that.
Yeah, but that's
before.
okay there in California now.
Yeah, you're right.
That's true.
No, it's still not legal apparently to grow weed. It's just legal to consume it or something. I don't know.
If you've got a license.
Right.
I think if you've got a license to grow,
I think the
then
police
it's okay.
will still probably come and investigate if you go too high in the
maybe.
electricity department. It's funny.
Yeah.
No, dude, I'm just making 3D graphics.
I'm just making graphics. It's like way not that cool.
It's just pictures of weed.
It's just pictures.
Beautiful renders
It's just
with
stuff people on weed
transmission.
watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're in your new setup, by the way.
I know, it's awesome. Finally, it's taken like practically 6 months, and Schmoopy headed up this project, and it took like contracts and upgrading the panel, and then getting all the electric. We did all the drywall, the floors, what else? The new garage door. There's like a tankless water heater right there.
Oh,
there's
tankless. That's nice.
So infinite hot water. And then we got like all of the cabinets that they installed. My desk was a hassle. Like they had to come back like 3 times. They screwed it up the first like 2 times, and it's still a little janky. They've got to fix it one last time, but it's all good. It's basically done now. So definitely happy about that. Now I've got like the legit work-life balance, hopefully.
Yeah. Where you can just basically leave your office and go into your house.
Yeah,
right?
and actually have fun and not be staring at the computers. Thanks, honey. My food's here.
Schmoopy delivery.
Schmoopy
delivery. How can I help you?
Awesome.
So
you guys talk. I'm gonna eat.
All right. So we'll talk about the week. Number one, we were talking to you a little bit about this before the show, but we had a slow start to the year, and we had like all these things falling through left and right, and we're like, this isn't working and this isn't working. But luckily, we kind of do our cash flow the right way so that we can pay ourselves consistently, and we save a lot of money in the bank. So everything worked out, but we feel really good now because, we busted it, for months working on these different deals, and have finally secured our payroll for the rest of the year, along with some additional projects that we already have on the plate. It's really a great feeling because it means the next 6 months, anything that we do is going to our payroll for the next year. And so we feel it's just such a relief, when you work that long and that hard, and it finally like pays off, and you're like, okay, now I can get rid of that underlying stress that's always in the back of your head going, how are you going to get the money? How are you going to get the money?
Yes.
Feels
and
good,
what's
bro.
cool is like the normally I've found the first half of the year is relatively slow.
Yeah.
And it's like the second half, mostly the fourth quarter, of the year, that is just jam-packed busy.
Yeah, seems like third and fourth are
what's
busier.
really nice is knowing that we've secured enough money in order to pay ourselves for the rest of the year, that like that was during the slow area or something like that, so like now these next few months, blah blah, are going to be much busier, so we may be able to secure next year's as well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Maybe hire somebody.
It all goes. It all good. Yeah, maybe. It all just goes to show that freelancing can be hard, but if you're responsible with the money that the way you're spending your money, and not just buying computers left and right.
Yeah.
Like I do. Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like when
We do
we're
that
about
too,
to get
but-
paid on this really big project and stuff, and then we've got a couple more that just came in and paid the deposit, and Dave's like, "Well, maybe we should do this, buy a computer now." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds so tempting, but we gotta wait, blah
I'm
blah blah."
so bad about saving money. I'm such an instant gratification whore. Like,
yeah,
just
me
like
too.
I've got more money. Let's just buy some more computers, and I don't know.
The biggest
Yeah,
thing
but
is
that
when it
stuff
comes
is
to my
worth it.
Yeah,
when it
it's
comes to-
reinvesting, but
when it comes to my family's well-being and stuff, that's what's always a driving factor. And what's good is like having a business partner, like it's kind of like having a roommate who you respect, versus a roommate who you don't respect. A roommate who you respect, you want to keep the house clean for them, or like do the dishes for them and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
you
like
guys
that's how
hold
it is
each other
having a business
accountable.
part. Exactly. Yeah, Dave and I are
Accountability.
kind of holding each other accountable for all this money and stuff like that. And it's kind of nice.
yeah, we've got nobody holding each other accountable. Like Chelsea and I are both like pretty bad about it. We're just like, yeah, let's do this fun thing. Let's go on vacation. Let's, she was like, dude, you need more computers. Obviously, I'm like, you're right.
You're right.
Do you ever do you have a separate account for just the business, or do
I
you
need
put it
to.
into?
No.
Is it sole proprietor thing? See, that's the problem.
Yeah.
If you keep it separate and just pay yourself a paycheck
Yeah.
every 2
Right.
weeks, it's
Mhm.
it helps with that. But you
What's
seem
really
to be doing
nice-
okay. You're getting all the good gigs. So
Yeah, I mean, I'll be okay now that this garage project is over. I'm all right. I'm kind of break even right now, but this thing costs like $20,000 to do.
yeah,
So
Jeez.
that's not
Understandably.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good price for an.
It
overhaul.
is. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, like Chelsea's dad was like, that could have. He's like, I've remodeled bathrooms for 50 grand.
Yeah.
Dem rich people do.
Yeah,
Some rich people do.
yeah. I think I did a bathroom remodel for like $2,500 at one
Mhm.
point, and it was like, I don't know, a 5x6 bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it's expensive to do a little room like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude. House repairs suck.
Yeah.
That's why I'm happy I'm moving into a brand new house.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
sweet.
I got a
I
warranty
can't wait to
for a
come
year.
crash at your place.
Dude, come. You gotta come out here. Like, just like find the cheapest ticket you can, bring Chelsea, have
Sounds
fun.
great. Cool.
We'll just chill. I'm like 15 minutes from ABC, so we can just go up there and hang out.
There you go.
Yeah, we
Bug
can
them.
totally derail them in their
Right?
process.
Right. So here's something that we got to start thinking about, guys. It's almost August, and around that time is when we do the future
Oh.
episode.
Oh,
Is
it
that
already?
a 3-year episode?
This
No
will
way.
be Bro to the Future 3.
Oh my god!
Wow.
It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a year since the last time we did that.
Yeah, well, I think we did it a little bit late last year because
Okay.
we were so slammed
Yeah.
with some stuff. But I was also thinking about the possibility of going and doing like a weird alternate reality past episode where we're like in the 80s or
Alternate.
90s trying to
that's
do
pretty
motion
good.
graffics.
Yeah, let's take
That's
a look
hilarious.
back.
All right,
10
yeah, let's
years.
take a look back.
Take you back to when video games only worked on channel 3.
Right.
You know,
That's pretty good. That's a
Um,
good idea. I like that. I like
Can
that.
we do 90s? Because I wouldn't have any like
90s would
idea
work, yeah.
about how the 80s were, honestly. Because I'm younger than you
80s, it
guys.
wasn't 10 years ago.
No.
alternate reality motion graphics in 1990.
Yeah.
Okay.
there you
Dude,
go.
my Apple Quadra just took a crash, man.
Yeah.
I upgraded it to 16K
Dude.
of memory, and
Back in the day, like Apple, you could not even edit. Like we were using Avid on a Apple 9, OS 9,
OS
you
9,
know,
yeah.
and that thing would crash on you all the time.
Mhm.
Like that was the worst part about some of the OS 10 G4s that we were working on, was that they were always crashing. Like
Wow.
just for no reason. Apple got a lot
Mhm.
better about their crashes, but they
OS
used to
6.
crash a lot.
Yeah, I was using OS 8 or 9 on a Quadra
Mm-hmm.
tower, with Avid in 1994, and it was like, oh my gosh, just it's come so far, it's ridiculous. It would only do SD, analog input. Maybe you could do an S video in there if you wanted to. If you really wanted to do it up,
Billy Chitkin on the chat says Avid crashing on Macs is why I'm in 3D now instead of being an editor.
That's funny.
So let's talk about your new video, by the way, because there was an article. We'll have a link to this in the show notes.
My Ice Baby video.
There's an article on Billboard, number one.
Yeah.
And then
is it really?
Yeah.
All right.
Apparently that's a big deal. I don't know.
That's he's kind of a big deal. Yeah.
Kind of a big deal.
And then okay, and then I'll also link to it on iTunes. So right now you can only see this on iTunes, is that right?
Right, through Apple Music, which I had to subscribe to a trial of it. And I was amazed that some other people subscribe to trials just to see it. I was like, wow, that's like a true honor that you're going that out of your way to look at my video.
Is there going to be a point in which people can just see this on Vimeo? Is there a plan for that?
It to Vimeo in like less than 2 weeks. Like as soon as I think it's like, I don't know, whenever I don't remember what the date is, but yeah.
So they're allowing you to do that. Was that something you talked about at the beginning? Or how did that work?
No, but I didn't sign no contract. I could probably, if I wanted to be a dick, just like upload it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. Man, that stuff's so hard. Now, you are going to do another demo reel too, right?
Yeah, I actually already cut a demo reel.
Yeah, so. It's beautiful.
Oh,
it's so pretty.
But you can't release it yet?
Right, I'm waiting until also I don't want to release the two at the same time. I'll probably wait another week, to release the reel. But yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll link to that in the show notes so people can go to iTunes and check that out. It's funny because I was like, iTunes?
Yeah, it's like, what's that?
Yeah, right? No, I don't want to install that on my computer. What are you, crazy?
So gross.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, luckily I've already seen it, so,
Yeah, I don't need to.
Yeah. I showed my mom your video. She liked it.
That's awesome.
I just want...
It's
What's
funny
that?
Because it's funny. Like the project was so like grueling that I didn't really get emotionally like attached to it or anything. But like I showed it to like my parents, and my dad he was like, it's so beautiful. He got like kind of emotional about it. Like, and he's not an emotional guy at all. Like he kind of holds that back a lot. And my mom was like, it really touched your dad, and I was like, oh, that's super sweet. It's just funny, like how people react to things when you're not. You're trying to tell a good story, but you're not necessarily like, I'm going to make people cry, or something like that. Right.
I used to do work with a guy, and he did a lot of like nonprofit organization stuff, like really heavy stuff, and he said his goal was always to make people cry.
Nice.
I did that when I did videos in high school. I tried to make people cry with my videos. I think it worked, but then I got away from editing, and directing and all that stuff. So I just, stopped making people cry. So, here's an interesting note. In the next month or so, we've been trying to switch over our podcast to another source for streaming. And we're going to move to Fireside, and I think I talked about this before, but
really? This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Well, you and I agreed on it because we're making payments on the new podcasting service.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's going to be kind of a hassle to do this switch, and in the meantime, I've been having issues with Squarespace because Squarespace is set up to do podcasts. They allow you to host podcasts, right? But you can only go up to like 160 meg. And you should see, I won't get into like the details, but you should see this customer support thread I had with Squarespace. And I was just like, this is why you guys are not a sponsor on the show.
This is why they'll never be a sponsor.
Right. Like on these other podcasts,
It took me, like building sites on Squarespace, it took me about a month to finally realize, the user interface and how convoluted everything was. But yeah, uploading stuff sucks.
Yeah, and I kind of hit them up about this because like the file size on the show in general is about 140 megabytes or something, right? Okay, that's not a big deal. So we started talking about it in terms of a 100 megabyte file, just to make it easier, right? And so I have to send. I always upload the show to Dropbox as well, and I'm like, okay, grab this file, put it into, there's a video version of the show as well on YouTube and Vimeo and all the places, right? So it uploads to Dropbox at, I don't know, in about 15 seconds.
Right.
Okay. It uploads to Squarespace in about 20 minutes. 20 minutes for a 100 meg file, right? And so I'm getting in this whole thread with them about this. They're like, well, you could link to an external server. I'm like, I don't want to pay for another podcast host so I can put it into my podcast host.
Right.
You realize how stupid that sounds, right? And they're like, well, yeah, but we're really not set up for blah, blah, blah over 160 megabytes. I'm like, but this is under 160 megabytes. He was like, well, did something change with your internet service? I was like, no, it times out. It does all of this stuff all the time consistently for the last 2 or 3 months. And so then I said, my Dropbox goes so quick. Why can't you guys just help me with this? Why don't you help me by taking this to customer support, like tier 2 and fix this issue? And it's just like, what kind of customer support is it? It literally, the end result was they said, well, maybe you should use a different service. I'm like, really? So and they even showed how to migrate your stuff off of your website to another service.
Oh, that's
not
bad.
So I'm like, okay, so this is your answer to your customer service, is to tell people to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I figured it out. I figured out the numbers. Their upload speed is 1 megabit. 1 megabit.
Ridiculous.
And I'm like,
That's
you can't
ridiculous.
give me a little bit more. It was just a whole bunch of excuses. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So, and they're like, well, you could link to Dropbox as your external. I'm like, Dropbox will cut it off. If you have too many people go to a Dropbox link, they cut you off. I'm like, when 15,000 listeners download this, like the first 50 of them maybe will get the file, and then it will cut me off. I'm like, why am I paying you? So if you're going to host your podcast somewhere, do not use Squarespace. Is the basic lesson from that. But it just blew my mind that customer support would say the solution is for you to not use this anymore.
Yeah.
So a couple other notes from the week. Good notes on iPad. Especially if you have one of the big iPads, Good Notes is a really, really great piece of software. It allows you to write using the Apple Pencil. You can storyboard. So like you can bring in things if you want to storyboard something or sketch something out. You can do like a little book. So I'm writing the Beeple's People notes in this little thing.
We gotta, team up on this, because I already got like,
well, I had an idea
how
about
I want
that.
this to go.
I have a really fun idea on this. I'm almost thinking we can collab, but I almost feel like, what if we
should
both
each write
wrote
our
one?
own book?
Yeah, and they would be
and
alternate universes of People's People. Like we could see, and then it would be fun to see what the similarities end up being between the two books, and then there would be a volume 1 and a volume 2 from parallel universes.
Well, these could be, the story from Beeple's People. Yeah.
So I'm digging that.
All right.
But so Good Notes, check that out. Then the other thing is, I mentioned the Gmail upgrade that happened. You can beta test it, and it's pretty stable.
I don't think I have access to that yet.
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
I don't even know how I got access to it, but like the design is a lot better, the snoozing, all of that in there. But what I'm blown away, no idea what kind of voodoo this is, but the auto responses. Because I use auto responses now in so many emails, and it's so dead on, it's scary. Like if somebody, like a client will write you and they'll say, hey, now this is an easy one, right? I think we need to set up that meeting for tomorrow at such and such time. And you're like, okay, sounds good. And you click the auto response. Either yes, I can do that. No, I can't do that. But this one the other day, I don't even remember what it was, but somebody said something so specific, and it gave such a specific auto response. I was like, how do you get that from my email? It's almost like somebody.
Yeah, like it actually gives the day rate and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
It's almost like it's a mechanical Turk or something. Like there's actually a person reading my email and like doing these custom responses. But it's really good, so check that out.
AI is
also
getting creepy, dude.
Oh, I know.
So weird.
It's Kubernetes who's doing
Kubernetes, dude.
Yeah,
it's all about them Kubernetes.
Yeah. It's Merck actually who's in the he's in the Gmails. So
yeah, Merck's not real. He's part of AI. He is part of the Kubernetes.
The other thing.
Speaking of Merck, real quick though, he for his most recent plugin, he named each topology from the Topo Former. Some different CG artist, so he like emailed me and I got to pick one.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So there's like
nice.
There's a David Ariev noise, which is freaking hilarious.
What is that?
I got kind of last pick because like Beeple and Ash Thorpe and like all the other like really good artists got to pick the good stuff, but I got something.
How did you like? What is the noise based on? Maybe it's based on like a picture of you or something?
No.
Like, how does that work?
It's just he just contacted all these different artists and
name dropping.
Pick.
Name dropping.
Yeah. So use my noise type.
Sage said the Mercanettes.
The Mercanettes.
Yeah. Arievanettes. That's your voice.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And then lastly, for the week wrap up, I just wanted to just do a reminder that Liam will be live this week on Thursday.
Nice.
I usually text him, but I'm assuming that's the case since we're every other week now. So just look for that. I'll post a thing on Twitter. So let's get to Ravcock. What's your flavor?
What's your flavor?
Okay, can I just say, is it Baskin Robbins now who stole our thing?
Oh,
so, have you seen that?
What is it?
They stole What's Your Flavor? That's in their commercials now.
Oh, no way.
I think it's Baskin Robbins. It's one of those, but I want to say it was Rick Bogus. He posted a picture, I think, on Slack of What's Your Flavor. I'll make that the show art.
The question is, are there more render engines than Baskin Robbins flavors?
32?
I
don't know.
Yeah.
Are there more than 32 render engines?
Wait, 32?
Yeah, or is it 31?
I don't know.
31 flavors. Yeah. Yeah.
31,000?
No.
Baskin Robbins flavors. Let's see.
It's 31 because you can see it in their logo. It's like one of my favorite logos. They've got the B and the R, and they highlight a 31 within the Baskin Robbins logo.
Oh,
it's super cool.
One of those things you can't ever unsee, like FedEx.
Like FedEx, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
like
the Tostitos, people eating chips out of the bowl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never unsee it.
My gosh, my kid is so loud.
So you have a hard out, right, Matt?
I do. Yeah, I'm probably gonna leave here in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm moving my house.
So after Ravcock, David and I will talk about these topics together.
Cool.
So in Ravcock, I forgot to mention this last week. I just thought this is funny. Somebody posted screenshots of this somewhere, but there's this Octane user that was in the Facebook group arguing with Jules and didn't realize who Jules was.
Really?
Did you see that?
That's hilarious. No, tell me.
I don't remember all the details exactly, but it was like something about like he was trying to sell his license before like the full Octane 4 came out for C4D or something like that. And people were saying, well, you can't do it that way because of the way the license works and all this. And Jules chimed in and he was like, no, it's true. You can't do that because ABC. And the guy just went off on Jules. He was like, what do you even care, bro? And like was just giving it to him. And then these people were like, you do realize who that is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's
it
so
was
funny.
like, I think Billy or somebody was like wrecked or I don't know. Anyway,
that's hilarious.
I have to find the screenshots so I can put them in the notes. It was pretty spectacular.
Did you guys see what Raphael Rao posted this morning? It was super funny. Email chain. So he got this email. I'll just read it to you guys because I think it's super funny. So
yeah. I did see that. I just read that. It was really funny.
so funny.
What was it? Is this in the Facebook group or where?
It's in the Facebook group. He also, I think, posted on his own Facebook. But I'll just read it. So, hello, my name's, he blanked it out. I'm interested in photorealistic versions of my OBJ files. Are you available? And then Raphael responds, thanks for the job offer. Might you please be so kind to elaborate what your project would be about? I can much better tell you if I'm available interested when knowing more details. For example, the subject, product visualization, architectural viz, logo animation, etc. What objects/things do your OBJ files represent? What do you see as the end product, print images, videos, etc.? Cheers and have a great day. And the guy responds, hello, please excuse late reply. Are you still available? I would need help designing a NASA-style depiction of the universe. I have 90% of the pieces.
A NASA of the universe.
Of the universe. I just want the universe. I have 90% of the pieces already completed, just needing minor tweaks and realistic texture. The files are manufactured pieces that represent parts of space. Okay. The end product is similar to a collage, how we will put them all together. If you're interested in such an opportunity, let me. I have a $3,000 budget. I can't reveal much more if we aren't working due to the proprietary nature of this information. Thanks. And then Raphael goes, hi, thanks for your reply in time. I respectfully have to decline the offer. The reason being that it's impossible for me to settle on an offer when I can't grasp the scope of work that is involved. Best of luck for your project. Cheers. So the guy goes, no problem. You are now cursed to suffer in hell now and once you pass for trying to save yourself and sacrifice another. You are of no use to the universe and a piece of shit for not doing what others will mind like yours is not worthy of the opportunity. You will always fail at everything you do now and you will be denied as you denied others. Keep your luck. You will need it. So now he's like in the cursed group. Apparently it's like a thing. Like other people were responding. Yeah, I got cursed once in an email too.
That is hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Best email ever.
There's
Tom
a
Glimpse
subreddit.
Since you are cursed now, curious if you're still considering to come to London at the IW event.
There's a subreddit called Choosing Beggars. It's a really good one. It's a lot of that similar stuff where they're basically asking stuff for next to nothing and then getting pissed off when the people say no.
So funny. Nobody's ever gotten pissed off at me for saying no before. I've never gotten cursed.
That's weird.
It's a shame.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's because you're Octane Jesus.
I mean, as far as you
cursing,
know,
so
maybe somebody has one of those voodoo doll things. With the Octane Jesus hair, and they're poking you with it because you didn't work on their project.
There was one guy in the Facebook chat that like got into a war with me and just kept being like, if you want to report me to Tom Glimpse, go for it, girl. Go for it. I'm like, whoa, dude.
Girl?
Yeah, he was like, just calling me girl. Like, that's an insult or something. It's so weird. I was just
call
laughing.
you a snowflake and a cuck, too? Or
I don't know. Yeah. So, that dude was super, super weird, and I just, like, blocked him. But, yeah, that was the only time I've ever had an issue with somebody. And I kind of called him out for being, like, a total dick to people that were just posting their renders. He was like, thanks for the daily spam. Like, just, like, total douche,
That's the point.
Don't need
people
those
post
people.
their renders.
Yeah, it's like that's the point of the Facebook group, dude. Like, chill out.
Yeah, those types of people, like, that is not what this community is about.
Not at all.
At all. Like, this is like the best community. If you're gonna be like that, then you probably don't belong in this community.
No.
Yeah.
Just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Couple other things in Octane. This is interesting. There's a user on the Otoy forums, Nuno1980, and he posted this huge description about true specular materials and formulas for dispersion.
Mm-hmm.
It's so over my head, but I was like, man, people
Cool.
like thank God people like can do this and spend the time doing this, because
Yeah, seriously.
this is amazing. And then Raphael as well, he posted something along the lines of this week too, because Chris Pretty had asked a question about the a standard way to bring in textures from Polygon to Octane. So he did this whole video and went into how to set the gammas, like color is 2.2 diffuse, reflection is gamma 1, specular OSL input back into a specular. Like he goes through this whole description and does a video and has this OSL script, and I'm just like, man, like
I actually used an OSL script for the first time a couple weeks ago. I was just messing around.
Yeah.
But I found something on Otoy's forum for something called chaos mapping, and I wanted to use it because the name just sounds cool. I'm like, whoa, I'm gonna use chaos mapping. But basically, it just like jumbles up the material so that like if you've got a bunch of repetitions, it no longer becomes obvious that it's repeating because it's like using this Voronoi pattern.
I've seen that.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it was I can't remember. But yeah, it's just a matter of like copying and pasting the code into the OSL node.
Yep.
So it's pretty easy to do, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So do you? So you do most of your stuff, including your post, like you're looking everything in Octane. You don't really take it out and bring it into like After Effects or anything. So my question for you is, have you ever had to go back and do a render region on anything?
Interestingly, on the last shot of my music video, I had an issue with the displacement, or like I think I had the Phong tag, or no, the displacement was set to a mode where the Phong angle was showing up on some of the curves, just on the right half of the frame. There was just this one little section that after the fact I zoomed in and noticed that there are all these like jagged angles, and I was like, crap, I can't re-render this whole thing and still meet the deadline.
Right.
And so, I set it to like smooth, like normal. There's like 3 different displacement modes now for how it reacts with the normal or something like that.
Yeah.
But that fixed it. And then I did just do a render region on that as the final. You know what I mean? Like in the picture viewer, it's just rendering that render region. And there's a way you just tell it like use the last render region that I used in the live viewer in the picture viewer. And it was pretty easy, but it's funny because it doesn't calculate the how long it's going to take per frame properly. It's like it's going to take an hour for this frame, or however long it was going to take on the
it tells you like the whole frame, not the section,
not the region, which is interesting. But yeah, so it was just finishing really so much faster. So yeah, that's definitely a great tool if you need to like patch something up and not want to spend the time re-rendering the entire shot.
Well, see, on this deal that we were doing, there's a boombox in it, right? It's the classic one that Beeple uses, and we bought it off of Turbo Squid, and we had to kind of retexture it and put a lot of emissive textures on it. And so there's a little dial that goes across like the radio stations, and it was just sitting there kind of blocking the stations, and you couldn't really tell what it was. And so the client was like, can you take that out? And I'm like, oh man, that's a 48-hour render on four 1080s. And so let me do that. So I go through and I set the render regions and all that. The problem that I had was that it calculates the post effects on top of it.
Yeah, it does.
And so like it didn't match up at all. And I was like, well, I could come in here and try and match it and feather it and do all this other stuff.
I did like put a mask in there and feather the mask because it
so it was different.
Slightly, yeah. I mean, not enough that it wasn't. I was lucky because the shot is a very slow moving camera, so it wasn't difficult to just put a kind of feathered mask in there,
See, mine was not working like that. It was like too dark, and the post effects are calculated on top of the whole picture.
Yeah, they'll
usually
bleed over the edges of the render region.
Yeah. And so that's the issue I was having, and it looked like this weird inset inner shadow thing. So I was like, well, I guess I'm re-rendering it. So I re-rendered for another 48 hours because of this little box. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So just a little tip there. If you're thinking you can go back and do render regions, it may or may not work out for you.
Yeah.
So,
I did a render region and it worked fine for me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I
So
didn't
it's
do anything.
What do you think about the redshift post effects, by the way?
I haven't looked deeply
Yeah, I
enough
haven't either.
into it. It's really cool that they've got actual lens flares though. That makes me jelly.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought too, but then they were looking a little, from what I saw, looking a little cheesy, and I was
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll probably make it better. I don't know.
that's something that I really do wish that Octane added was lens flares into their
Yeah.
post.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
talked to Jules about that directly actually the one time I visited them, and he kind of said that he thought someone would develop that as an OSL tool, but
Yeah,
I really wish they would like make that themselves, you know, because it would
Mhm.
be probably better than whatever someone makes
Right.
with OSL.
yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool. I think just more post stuff in general would be really great to get in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Um,
sure.
Just moving further and further away from having to do any stuff when you're done.
Yeah, or like I've said, you know, lens profiles would be amazing. Like I choose the anamorphic preset and I get the anamorphic bokeh and I get the anamorphic
cool.
lens flares
That'd
and,
be
and
cool.
also
Yeah.
like the focus breathing or the barrel distortion, like the specific characteristics of that lens, like the chromatic aberration, like all that stuff. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liam in the chat, he says that Merck's, if you saw, I don't remember which video I was looking at, but Merck's video, he was like really cranking it up on purpose. So
Gotcha.
it looked kind of cheesy. So I guess in their some of their other example videos, it's not as over the it's not as
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams ish.
Right.
Mhm.
Merck's is definitely is the
Abrams.
one that I saw.
J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm gonna head out.
He's hard outing.
Sorry.
All right.
I love you
all. Right,
all.
hard out.
We
Make
love
sure
you
you
too.
make sure you save that and send it to me so I can get
I
the show
will.
up.
I will. I love you all. By
All
the
right.
time you see me next week, I'll be in my new place.
That's so awesome.
All right. Sweet,
All right.
dude.
Later,
Take
bro.
care.
Later, guys.
Later, bro. All right, then. Now it's just us.
Now I gotta
Oh,
pick
my
up the
head is
slack.
cut off.
Is it?
Yeah, I got to fix my head because it's cut off.
Fix your head, bro.
Yeah, my head's all cut off. We'll take a little break here. Do you see me on the chat thing? It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Do.
The Dave and David show, says Tokyo Megaplex.
Which one am I? Adjust. There we go. Do. This will all be cut out. Oh, man. I don't know why these settings don't stay from week to week.
Yeah.
All right. There we go.
Cool.
Okay.
Nice. Looks good.
All right.
I've got one
feels good,
more
bro.
Ravcock thing.
Oh, yeah? What
I
you
think
got?
so. Yeah. So on the last shot in my video,
Mhm.
which is, it's kind of annoying because I can't show it yet. So you'll have to just imagine. But there are these little, you know, there's a big ice cave and there's this hole in the ceiling where I've got X particles snow falling and these petals flying towards the hole in the ceiling, kind of escaping the ice caves. So I wanted to have like a beam of sunlight in addition coming from outside because I thought that would be pretty, but I couldn't get both like a pretty angle on the sunlight coming through the ice in the cave and get the God rays at the same angle that I wanted, if that makes sense. So like there was one angle that looked really good for the lighting, but then there was another angle that actually got me strong God rays. So I did this trick that my buddy Ryan Talbot told me about. Which is rather than
Do I know? Wait, Ryan from
he's in the Octane Facebook group. He did the Substance Painter like to Octane bridge tutorial and like
oh yes.
yeah, he's really good. He's been going to the Orange County meetups and he lives like around that area and he's come to San Diego a couple times and I've gotten lunch with him couple times. Super nice dude and like extremely talented, really good at Substance, but
he's young, huh?
he's young. He's got a job working for like Western Digital and also does some freelance stuff and but he's like it's crazy how fast these damn kids are picking this stuff up. But he's also just really, I think he's been doing it for a while and he's just good at what he does and his work kind of looks like he's kind of got a hood ass vibe going on with all the grungy, you know, like destroyed like artifacts in nature, you know, like just using a lot of ivy grower and then, you know, his hero asset he'll really plus with Substance Painter. But anyway, he told me about this trick where rather than rendering like a full volumetric pass to beef up the volumetrics, you can just like create a new scene and set all the materials to black. So just create your own pass basically. But when you set all the materials to black, the volumetrics calculate so much faster. Like it took, like this scene was taking, for everything altogether, but then just for the volumetrics with the black materials, it was like less than a minute per frame, I'm pretty sure. And it lets you kind of isolate those volumetrics and then just screen them over top, so you can really beef them up and get additional God rays. So that was really helpful. Kind of like what you guys were doing with Redshift,
That's
just
what I was going to say.
As a volumetric renderer to augment Octane. But yeah, I think this idea like really makes it possible in Octane and makes the volumetrics like really clean and fast to get access to. So I might include that in a tutorial soon. I've already done a lot of God Ray stuff, but this is kind of an interesting way to add more volumetrics without a ton of render time cost,
Yeah, I was going to ask you, are you doing any more tutorials soon?
Yeah, this week, actually, I'm trying to bust out as many as I can. Yeah, it's going to be like Kitbash 3D stuff. So I'm partnering with Kitbash. So I'm thinking I've got like 3 ideas or more. It's like hard to choose. Like one is like a space colony either on the moon or on Mars. And then that's an obvious one because space. And like I can just jam that out pretty quickly, show how to make asteroid belts and moon surfaces, and like their colony, their space colony Kitbash pack is pretty cool because it's very much like playing with Legos. You can create really big complexes of tunnels and like all these different buildings because they have the pieces, meant to be jammed together. Yeah. And then I'm thinking maybe I'll show how I built the ice caves and do like an ice city inside some ice caves, since I just got off that project, and that could be a really, some low-hanging fruit for me, but also pretty cool because the technique, uses X particles to build these forms, and I learned that from Beeple. And then I was also thinking about doing either an underwater scene or probably just like a post-apocalyptic thing with some ivy grower could be cool, and then showing how to use like, say you want to create a more complex texture for the buildings, you can like combine like 4 different concrete textures, but with different noises to patch them together and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm thinking I've got a lot of ideas, but I don't know what to do.
What do you use for your ivy grower? Is it?
There's a plugin called Ivy Grower that's really
called Ivy Grower.
Yeah, it's free too. It's really good.
Where is that at?
I don't know.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just Ivy Grower. Everybody uses it. It's like the daily render crack. C4D Cafe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let's get into some topics though, because I think how many do I have here? I got like 4 different topics. So we don't have to spend too much time on all of them.
Real quick, sorry. The one last thing I remembered about the volumetrics, though, is like on my main pass, my beauty pass, I didn't turn off volumetrics entirely because that would have, like, I really liked how the general volumetrics, some volumetrics for the main pass, and then beefed them up and added the rays with a secondary pass, if that makes sense. So
I gotcha.
Without it, it would have been it looked like really sharp and there was no fall off and no like quality to the light. And just screening volumetrics on top doesn't have the same effect as when it's all together and the light is coming through the ice and then scattering in the volumetrics that I placed in there. So all that stuff had a really cool effect altogether, but then I wanted to add some additional rays on top. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
So Brian Beam actually came out with a series on Skillshare.com this week. So I'll be linking to that, and it's called Channel Branding Lessons. And I got into an interesting discussion with some people online the other day about YouTube and whether or not it's worth it to, put ads on your YouTube content or whatever, right? Because you start a YouTube channel, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put ads on everything. We'll make $1 million, and then over time, it's like even if you get like thousands of hits on a video, it's like not really that worth it to have ads. It's like, wow, I made $10 on this.
Yeah.
Yay. You know what I mean? Like one of those things. And so we got into this discussion about whether or not you can profit from YouTube or not. Because I'm like, well, not really. Not unless you want to just be a YouTube channel.
Right.
You know, like this, so there's a huge difference between having a YouTube channel and being a YouTube channel. You know, is it a tool for what you're doing, or is it your main business?
Right.
So it's like with us, we stopped doing ads because it's just like, you know, we make money off of other things, and we sell plugins and we do all that. And the stuff that we provide for free on YouTube drives those sales, right? And the podcast drives those sales. And I was trying to explain that to some people in this thread, and they're like, yeah, but you could be making money off of that. You just have to craft everything that you do to just be, basically what they're saying is you got to make it spammy.
Yeah,
right?
That sounds awful. I don't want to, like, that would, like, I feel like you'd lose listeners. I wouldn't want to listen to the podcast if it were super, you know, spammy, or if like all the YouTube stuff was like, had all of this advertising and like, you know, product placement bullshit. You know, it's just not fun.
Well,
and I mean,
and even the headlines, you know, those spammy grabbing headlines are like 7 tricks to something. You won't believe what happens next. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah.
Just clickbaity crap, and you know, the icons and the thumbnails for all of the things are like a cutout of you with like a stroke around you, and you're going, huh? And there's like a big question marks everywhere, an Octane logo, and everything is like, you know, tilted, and it's like, that's not the kind of channel I'm looking for.
That's not our jam. And like, honestly, like, you're like, as a freaking niche Octane, whatever C4D channel, you're never going to get the number of viewers that would, you know, actually pay you enough to make it a full-time job. You know, it's just never happened. Yeah.
And that's what I told them. I'm like, if you want to start a channel and the whole purpose of the channel is to be a channel, like, I'm all about YouTube and all about like getting hits on my YouTube. But see, like, that's not what I do on my day to day. It's like I'm posting stuff as this is a place to host my content. You know, I'm not worried about how many people are going to see it in the suggested videos on the right-hand column after they watch another video, and how am I going to grab their attention with my spammy title?
It just seems like so much effort too. Like, and it's sad that channels like Corridor Digital, like, there are very few high quality, you know, VFX driven channels, and they're having to create secondary channels where they're just playing video games, you know, and it's all coming away from the really high quality stuff that they spend like a month on. Like, that still exists, but the model of YouTube is no longer paying for the short, viral, high quality, high production value video. It's paying for these long form, because it's the length of viewership, you know, that matters more. And so like these idiots with their, you know, like the Let's Play videos, you know, the best way to, you know, make money on YouTube is like be really zany and play video games, you know, and like all the kids will watch it. PewDiePie, like, kind of crap. And like, it's just, it's drivel, and it's sad that YouTube has kind of declined. Like, you know, Rocket Jump kind of went out of business because of that. Like, partially they expanded too fast apparently, but yeah, the model changed. And like, that was one of the things that really inspired me to get into, you know, VFX and motion graphics initially, was watching Freddie Wong and Corridor Digital's videos.
Yeah, I was gonna say Freddie Wong too.
Yeah, that's Rocket Jump. That's Freddie Wong.
Oh, that's right. That is. Wait, so he went under, or?
Yeah, I mean, not fully. Like, they're still releasing YouTube videos, but they expanded. Like, they did this big series called Video Game High School, and then they did, I don't know, like another big, like, they had their own Hulu show, and then they had a show after that. They had expanded to a huge team and like a really big office, and they may have done that too quickly, you know. And then at some point, I think that they had to like fire everybody basically. You know, they pretty much went out of business. So it's pretty sad that the model is no longer working, because it's exciting to see people that are just, comedians and like want to, and making really fresh, original content, not have a really good platform to do that, like an indie platform to do that. It's frustrating.
Yeah. The stuff that Freddie was like, I think I bought the video game high school series, because it's like, that's who he is, and I know this is going to be good. And everything he was doing was like, I mean, the amount of subscribers he has, the amount of subscribers that Corridor Digital has is just insane. And
yeah, it's absurd.
But there are other reasons that it's not like they're sitting there doing Octane tutorials.
Right.
That's why they have so many. I mean, even in After Effects, if you're doing After Effects stuff, the audience is bigger.
It is.
But you have to be built to do that, like they are, and you have to realize that this is going to be, you're going to, eat, sleep, breathe YouTube.
Yeah, I mean,
all the time.
EJ's like the person to talk to about this stuff. Like, he's very good at knowing when to post. He's like, you got to post on Tuesday. You got to do this, and like, I just like defer to him for everything. But like, even he's not making much money off of the advertising, And I that's not Video Copilot's model either. Their model is also driving people to plugin sales and whatever else. It's not the advertising. Even though he's got millions of views on many of his tutorials, I doubt it makes them that much revenue, compared to the plugin sales. Yeah,
it's a tool to sell plugins.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to do a link because he's doing these channel branding lessons. So there are certain things that you do want to do regardless, and so check that out. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Facebook friending clients.
Oh yeah, that's super awkward, isn't it? Because like, I just did that with, I didn't Facebook friend them, but they friended me, and it's kind of like, oh, now I have to like watch my back with everything I post, and I can't bitch as much, and stuff like that. I mean, it's not good. It's not good practice to bitch about your clients ever, but sometimes you just really, really want to.
Well, it's not just that. It's that when you're working, there are two schools of thought on this, because there's number one, if you're working as a contractor, that's one thing, if it's your company. But then when you're working for somebody else, that's a whole nother thing. But it's one of those things where like you have a set schedule of what you do every day for the most part, and you have times that are set aside for family time or personal time or whatever it is, right? So let's say that you're working on like 4 different projects, and then a client comes to you and they're like, well, I need this thing done really quick, and you're like, well, I can't get that done till tomorrow because I'm really slammed with this project.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to want to explain to them why then you're posting that you're on the beach having a cocktail that night.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's intrusive and invasive sometimes for them to be able to have that window into your life when everyone needs to have a life. They need weekends off, or like times where they're just spending time with their family. And yeah, it would be absolutely obnoxious if they were like, well, I saw you on the beach, I know you're not working. Or even if they're not saying anything, you have that paranoia in your mind that, oh, if I post my family on the beach, this client is going to see that and they're going to think, oh, I'm so lazy, I'm slacking off on their job. Or it's you want that that buffer for sure. And like, there are days where like I only work like 2 hours because of the demands of the project, or I'm rendering for 48 hours straight, and the client probably wouldn't understand that, so yeah, I'm going to go to the beach with my family or whatever it is,
Yeah. Now, if you're working for somebody else, which you've worked for other people before, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I had
a man.
I worked for the man for my first, 3 or 3.5 years, and I put in my whatever,
Well, there's a whole nother level of that, because then it's like, it's not even about friending the people that you work with. I mean, that's its own thing. But then it's like, friending those clients. And there's kind of a weird thing too, where like some people in some businesses expect you to be maintaining some sort of social media like Instagram or something like that. But you don't want those clients coming back to your boss and saying, "Oh, well, I saw so and so's, out having drinks."
Mm-hmm.
And well, we don't really approve of that kind of culture, and then you're representing your brand, and it's like, do you really have to represent the company that you work for, even when you're going out and having fun? That sucks.
You shouldn't have to. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, I feel like your identity should be separate from your company. And honestly, like most people, I feel like that I see they're under the umbrella of a company, their social media is pretty downplayed because their identity is folded into that company, So it's either or. Like either the company is like pushing you to not have your own identity, like don't post a reel, don't have, you're part of this company. I've not heard of like companies like being like, get out there on the social medias and make sure that you're posting all your cool work so that everybody can see how cool our company is. Like that's their responsibility. You sign up for a company because you don't want to have to do that stuff a lot of the time. You don't want to have to worry about, the making the consistent money and doing the client interaction and the social media presence and all that stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that some of it is a school of thought that Barton Damer has, which is, you're not just going to do an Instagram account that's posting your dailies or projects you worked on. If you put some things in there that actually have something personal in it when someone's following you and clients are following you, then there's also a level of it where they're going to say, oh, well, this person is a human being as well. It's not just some robot putting stuff up. So maybe if I call them at Friday night at 7 p.m., maybe a client will think twice. And they'll be like, oh, you know what? Maybe he's with his family tonight. Maybe I shouldn't ask him to do that right now. Drop everything at 7 p.m. on a Friday.
Yeah, because he's not just Kubernetes.
Right. He's not. And so there are ups and downs to that, but it's something where you have to really be careful. I mean, I don't add anybody on Facebook that I haven't met pretty well and know pretty well, like met in real life, or people that I haven't met in real life that I'm friends with on the internet only. Like I have to have a pretty good relationship with them in some way, shape, or form before I add them. So it's not like you with everybody who's in the
I let everybody
that adds you.
Yeah.
Because then you're just getting Facebook posts of all these people that you don't even know. It's just like...
Yeah, most of my Facebook is turned, just like my Instagram, is like renders. Like the vast majority of my Facebook has turned into renders, but I'm pretty okay with that. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, like letting all the people in and just accepting anybody unless they're like, some spam porn account. Yeah. That's the one time I reject. But yeah, letting those people in, though, can create opportunities. A lot of the time it's people that just want to say that they like my tutorials, but other times it's like people that actually have a job or that, I get into interesting conversations with and befriend. I'm cool. I enjoy having online friends, and I'm more of a one-on-one kind of person. I don't engage in Slack as much, not just because I'm it's like takes up so much time, but I just enjoy like the one-on-one conversations a lot of the time versus like the stream of it, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like I'm kind of the same way. Like I can't keep up with Slack in that manner. Like it's just too much for me, right? So I try and do like a daily or every 2 days, go through and catch up on everything,
Yeah, that's kind of, I like pop in like once a week and say hey and get overwhelmed, and then yeah, because I'll see like people will talk about you, and then you'll pop in. I guess you get an alert. I get something, or I just like see the mentions and stuff. Yeah.
I do enjoy getting involved in that, but and I like on Instagram too when I can go through my Instagram feed and it's just all renders. I like that, but like on Facebook, it's a little different for me. It's like I want to know everybody.
Your emphasis on social media. Yeah.
I'm more interested in arguing about politics. I haven't been very interested in doing that lately because I'm just tired of it. But
it's just it's such a drain. I like never engage with people on politics because don't think that I can convince people otherwise of whatever their opinions are. And it seems like a never ending war that, gets people all rabble, but then has no positive result that I can see. I feel like my mind has changed over certain things when I see enough people posting about them. And, that's a good thing. Like, I think it's good to share what your opinions are. But when people get into these heated battles and just get nasty, I tune out. Or, I mean, it's like,
right.
it can be fun to watch the train wreck, and
I've been in those train wrecks.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you love doing that.
Yeah. But I'm mostly trolling though. That's the difference.
I know. But I'm just saying, it's entertaining for you to troll people and play devil's advocate or But yeah, that's not. I don't know. That's too much stress for me because I don't know. I don't like to stir the pot that much. I already get stressed out enough about work,
I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of a stress reliever. I don't know.
Yeah, different people. Yeah.
So, okay, this is speaking of Facebook. This is another interesting little, I don't know, a dilemma. I don't know if it's a dilemma. I don't know how to approach this, if at all. And maybe you can tell me what you think. Cool. There's you've heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, right?
That sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you what it means. So tell me.
Some people have used it to describe our current sitting president. Some people have described my old boss from years and years ago as such a person. To where you're intelligent enough to do certain things and get in a certain position, but not intelligent enough to realize that you're not intelligent enough to
be
involved in certain things. Well, I wasn't going to go there, but but it's like if I came to you and I'll just tell you what the deal is. There's a certain Facebook group that I am involved in. It's pretty small, but there's a lot of After Effects people in there. And there's one person in particular that doesn't understand that he's not very good. And we're not talking about oh, you're getting better. I'll give you some constructive criticism. Let me help you.
It's just someone that's absolutely plateaued and they don't want to take any steps to grow or listen to anybody's feedback kind of thing, because
they're honestly they're stuck in they're doing the awful lens flares and the it's just so cheese. And I don't really care, and it's not like I'm making fun of this person, but it's more of a thing where they post, and I guess they commented that they've gotten some flack from other people, and they even to the point where they posted comparisons between what they've done and a huge Hollywood movie side by side, and said, "Look,
it's the same." See?
Yes.
So funny.
And everybody's like, "No, dude, it's not the same," and you won't take constructive criticism at all. And it's yeah, but too, you're not really good. And not in a you're getting there kind of way, but in you are first year high school student level and you think that you are ready to go to Hollywood.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not ready to go to Hollywood. I've been doing this forever.
It's the American Idol syndrome where, there are always those delusional people that get on and think that they're the best singers ever and then get totally smacked down. Yeah. And it's how do you approach that? Because I want to help the person to get better. I want to give them constructive criticism. Refusing help, and there's not anything you really can do unless you want to take it upon yourself to befriend them and then gently ease them into something. It just sounds like a lot of effort. There are some people that just are blind to criticism and also blind to reality, and I don't know what you can do to help those people. If they don't accept your help, then they're kind of, not going to get better.
I'm never going to take stuff that I've done and put a side by side with a Hollywood movie and say, look, my stuff is better than that.
It's weird. That's a very ego thing to do like, and just, I mean, I would never do that, you know, like I'm always, it's really good to look at work that's better than yours, which there always will be, and be awed by it and inspired, and like then try to, you know, fuel that to make your own work a little bit closer. But, you know, I mean, you can't, like, you literally cannot, with the thousands of artists that are contributing to any given image that's on a big budget feature film, like, as an individual artist, you can never even come close to making that kind of thing. And you just have to accept that. It's like one of the big frustrations is that ever, you know, like, and that's okay. Like,
Well,
that's why you try to compare yourself with other people that are doing individual work, or if you're working in a small team, then you compare it with something that's on that same scale and same budget, like someone else's small team project, and say, oh yeah, I want to be like Man versus Machine when I have a group of like 15 people and, you know, whatever, or I want to be like this solo guy, you know, I want to be like Somei Sun when he goes off for 2 months by himself and makes something incredible. Like, that's you know, that's the ultimate goal to reach for, not like some feature film, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. You look at the Oppo X or whatever it is, and you're like, oh my God, that's so awesome. I want to be able to do that, and I want to have the time to do that. I want to get to that level. That if you feel that way, that means you understand that you have somewhere to go. And like that Ben Folds song, there's always someone cooler than you, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Like, there is always somebody better than you. But if you're at that point and it's that Dunning-Kruger thing where you're like, no, my stuff is the best, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, then
and
you
like,
just stopped growing, and you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, dude's doing videos with cheeseball special effects, with no lighting in anything he does, no shot composition,
right,
and just putting it out there and saying and telling everybody in the world that it's just as good as a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the one positive thing I could say is maybe he's, you know, gaining some kind of happiness from the work still. You know, maybe it's like fun for him. Like, there was this one guy in Charlottesville, he was like the king of low budget horror movies, and he'd made like over 100 of them, and they're all trash, but he loves making them. And, you know, I'm not going to go and tell him to stop making them, because that's like his jam.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know that he was posting on, you know, Facebook or wherever how good his art is. You know, it's like, he's just like, I made the greatest quantity is like his one, you know, thing that he can say about himself, you know?
I have a friend who was like that. He loves to do low budget, like guerrilla style, everything. And like, that's his jam. And like, that's what he's into, you know, and it makes him happy. And it's like, but he's not out there telling the world that like he's the best.
He's the best. Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
and that's the difference. And I just, you know, I'm like, do I even say anything to this person?
I mean,
but you want to help people.
Yeah, we've all suffered from delusion as artists. Like, one of the first projects I ever made in Final Cut Pro was this. I got this opportunity to make my first music video, and it was for this like terrible band, and they didn't want to actually go somewhere, so it was in their garage, and my brother and I filmed it on like handy cams, and it looked like absolute DV tape trash. And the one cool thing they did was have the guitarist, and it wasn't even cool, it was stupid, he stood on the roof, and so like I had 1 second of him standing on the roof, and then I'm like piecing this thing together that was out of sync because they wouldn't even play to a track of their own song. I just recorded, so like it was a monumental effort for me to just get it to sync up. Right. As like one of my first projects. And then I'm like doing every Final Cut effect I can, like throwing, you know, selective color at everything, like making the sky all rainbow and like throwing effects at it left and right. It was like putting makeup on a pig. It was just like the most terrible, but because I had spent so long trying to make it work and just have a functional music video, I was convinced that it was the greatest.
Oh,
project.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I like put it on at the time the Something Awful forums were big, and that's where I like blasted my work. So I was like, everybody, look at this. I made a music video. It's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And like they were just like, this is like the thread went to, I thought that this was a joke and that you were just like making a joke post, but actually this is just really sad.
Guys, like jokes.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
jokes. Yeah.
Love
So I
jokes.
mean, we're all subject to delusion when you put in hard work into something. So maybe this guy is like putting a lot of hard work and doesn't have access to the right resources or the right or maybe he's just blinding himself to those. It sounds like, but maybe to him it's a lot of effort and he thinks it's awesome. And I don't know. It's just funny.
Well,
Human
and I think that happens at the
beings are funny.
beginning too. Like
Yeah.
when you first start, when I posted my first reel that I had put together, I didn't have anything to compare it to really. It was back in the days before, like, I mean, there wasn't as much social stuff going on either. Like Facebook had just started,
Mhm.
and so I didn't have the resources that people do now either. And so I hadn't seen a lot of other reels, and I put it in the Brograph.net
Exactly.
forums and I just get eaten alive. And, but at least though, when that kind of thing happens, it takes you down a peg.
Mhm.
And you realize if you're the type of person
Yeah.
though that blows it off and says, no, you
Right,
guys
no,
are all
they're
just
wrong.
stupid.
Yeah, no, I definitely took it to heart and I was like depressed for a while.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
But you need that though. Like
You do, yeah.
I needed that to realize that I had no design sense because I didn't have any design classes.
Right.
I knew all the technicalities of everything, and I still to this day feel like I don't have enough design sense. Like I took that to heart and I used that to get better. And it sucks, man, when people won't take that. Liam says in the chat, he's like, you guys realize I'm watching the stream, right, guys? Gosh.
Jeez, gosh. Sorry, Liam.
No, it's not you, Liam. This guy doesn't even do 3D, so
Yeah. Just some After Effects guy. No, that's rude to say because After Effects is a rabbit hole in and of itself that you can get so good at 2D animations. Yeah. So
yeah, you could get better if After Effects was actually good. But anyway,
yeah.
But you have to be able to identify those problems in your own. I mean, in everything in your own workflow. And like, what is the one thing that is keeping you from doing something? You know, whether it has to do with getting better or it has to do with time management or whatever it is.
Mhm.
There could be one thing that's like, what's the game called with the little straws in it? And then you pull the straws and the marbles are on top. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Oh man, it was like from back in the 80s. Hopefully somebody in the chat will get
somebody in the chat will help us.
it. It looks like a tall, clear cup, right?
Uh-huh.
And in the middle are all these little straws, and on top are all these marbles, and you have to take turns. It's kind of a Jenga sort of.
I do
sort of
remember.
way.
Like I'm having vague memories from like
Those
camp.
stir straws. They look like stir straws, the little red ones,
Yeah,
and you pull it out one by one.
yeah. I don't know what that game is called though. Yeah,
But it's
Kerplunk.
Kerplunk. That's what it is.
I would have never gotten that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had like 3 people saying Kerplunk. That's great. So there's that one that's there that's stopping you from doing what you want to do, and you got to figure out which one of those straws you can pull, and the whole thing will go. It's like I thought of this in the analogy of the Jack in a Box drive-through the other day, right? I go to this drive-through because I want to get me some tacos at 2 a.m. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
And it's usually a very fast Jack in a Box. When you find a fast Jack in a Box, you want to stick to that one because you know how long those lines can be. And so it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, this place is usually fast, and tonight it's really slow. Like, what is the deal? And I wasn't even to the speaker yet, right? So like it's just taking forever. There were people trying to back out of the line because it was so bad. There were people who weren't ordering. They were just so fed up. I'm like, what is going on? Why is it taking so long? Why are the orders wrong? Everybody's like, you can see them exchanging food in the window, like they got the wrong order and all of this stuff. And I'm like, what is the deal? So I get up to the speaker and I'm like, I would like 2 monster tacos, please. And they're like, loaded potato wedges? I'm like,
You're
No.
like, I found the problem.
I'm like, 2 tacos. They're like, what? And like, I ordered a couple other things, and everything that I ordered, it was like, what?
Oh my God.
You want a what? And they were screwing everything up. And I realized that this wasn't an issue that they were bad at taking the order. This wasn't an issue that they were typing it in wrong. It wasn't an issue that they were slow at cooking.
Oh, was it just the intercom? They
It
couldn't
was
hear.
just the intercom. And so I thought
my God.
that, it's amazing. Just because the speaker is bad here, it's screwing up the whole entire system. So you've got to identify that problem.
Right.
That's a weird analogy, I know, but like,
no, it's a good analogy for sure. Yeah.
So, kerplunk it, man. You gotta kerplunk it. Title.
You gotta kerplunk it. You gotta be honest. Moral of the story is be honest with yourself. I don't know how to advise people to do that though. That's definitely, if you're not good at taking criticism and you're like, yeah, that's really hard. I don't know how you magically get good at that and, grow a thicker skin,
Same thing the other day. I had I did an Uber Eats order with this really great chicken place, and I was with a couple people. We're like, okay, let's order like 3 meals, right? Not a big deal. You figure order Uber Eats, you get this really good chicken, and they're in like 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Shows up, there's no drinks, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Well, I'll just have them credit back the drinks. We can get a drink, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so then I open the boxes, and there's like tons and tons and tons of chicken fingers. And that's it. None of the other order, none of the sides, none of the meals, none of anything. And of course, it turns out, again, it was just one little problem. It's that the person handing out the order did not care to check and make sure they were handing the right order to the Uber driver. But what does that do? That causes a chain reaction because this order didn't go to who it was supposed to go to. Mm-hmm. I keep it. They can't take it back. Plus, Uber's involved, so they can't get the Uber driver back. And so then I've got to reorder it, and I got to call customer service, and then Uber credits the money back, but they don't get their money back. And then they've got to make the order again for both people. And meanwhile, like they've given out $100 worth of free chicken fingers, and it's just because the one weak link, in the whole system. You got to kerplunk that. So.
Billy said, the moral is to seek out feedback from artists you trust / believe are good, and then take that feedback to heart and improve. Don't disregard criticism just because you might not like it.
Yeah. So, and also make sure when you post those that at the end you put, I hope you like it.
I hope you like it.
Because if you don't say that, then it's not going to get any true feedback because you didn't write, I hope you like it.
Totally.
I've been screenshotting those. Dude, everybody. Is that a thing?
It's ever present. I don't know if people are like joking at this point. Like,
right.
But I think that it's just really the natural thing to say. It's like how I say either man or dude when I respond to someone. Thanks, man. Awesome, dude.
Right.
It's like awesome, I've got like 2 responses. Yeah. And if, I'm trying to get into my dude, like that's the next phase for me will be like, yeah, my dude, but I haven't had the courage to like use that yet.
Dude, bro.
Dude, bro. Yeah.
Dude, perfect.
Dude, bro.
Okay. So here's another quick thing. Our last little topic deal here. We got to figure something out. On the Slack, we actually had a section called Blacklist, right? And
clients not to work with, basically.
Yeah, but the problem is, when you're not doing the paid version of Slack, then once you hit 10,000 messages, stuff starts getting
goes
deleted.
Away. Yeah.
So that list doesn't. And the other thing is, I'm thinking, okay, well, can you be held liable, for posting that? Can somebody come to you and say, oh, well, I'm suing you because you put me up on a blacklist site? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
So I've been thinking about that, but one of the examples of, having clients on Facebook that can be useful is when somebody comes on, first of all, and says, hey, is anybody available to do this thing? And you say, oh, yeah, I'm available. But it's also good when people post things on Facebook that are clients about don't work with this person, or this person didn't pay. So this guy's been working on a really big thing. He had a contract and he posts, look, guys, anybody in the industry that may hear from this person, because you're all in town, you're all local. If you hear from this person and they say they need help on this, like, don't do it, run, because they're going through that whole, oh, well, we're waiting for funding or so-and-so didn't pay us. And that's my huge pet peeve when a client says that.
Yeah. I've there's one company that I've worked for a bunch of times, and they're extremely slow to pay, usually net 60. And then recently it was like it took at least 95 days or something to get me the money. And it was just like, oh, we haven't gotten paid yet. So, and it's like, I don't care if you've gotten paid, pay me, you know?
Yeah. You saw that old video on Vimeo years ago.
The If
You Pay Me.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. It's like, I don't care that you didn't get paid by somebody else. It is irrelevant because we maintain cash flow so that we can pay contractors. We try and pay them. And I've said this before. Mm-hmm. We try and pay contractors first. You know, if it means we're not going to get a check, that's fine. Mm-hmm. We'll have to take care of it ourselves, but at least it's us. And then going down the road, the contractor's still going to want to work with us. You know, I would hope that, you know, if we came to you and we needed help on a project, you know, which we do, and sometimes the other way, you know, we send each other work, that it's one of those things where you know you're going to get paid at least net 30, if not before.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
You know, or I mean, okay, so maybe every once in a while something might slip through the crack and you forget to pay an invoice, but not, you know, that you're going to go say, well, the client hasn't paid me yet. Because...
Yeah, I'm surprised that companies survive like that because, like, it's a big deterrent for me. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to work with that company again at this point, you know, and that's because they just the simple reason that they suck at paying. It's not that they don't pay me enough, you know, they're fine to work with during the job, but yeah, it's a big factor, and cash flow is really important for sure. You know, if your credit card bills start racking up, then that hurts you, and you know, it's like limiting, you know, the purchasing that you can do, and yeah, it just sucks. So yeah, and exactly. Whenever I have somebody that I'm paying, I try to pay as fast as possible. You know, not, you know, sometimes I'll hold on to the money for a bit, you know, if my cash flow sucks, but if I have the means to pay them immediately, I do, you know, just because it comes back, you know, when somebody else hires me, that you know, that's just like a good culture to build, basically. And
the easy thing to do, if you have a good client, you know you're going to get paid, and then you can pay your contractors. You wait like maybe 2 weeks after you get your contractor's invoice. Mm-hmm. You pay them, you know, Wave Apps or something with an American Express card. Then in another 2 weeks, the client's going to pay you because you're net 30. And then 2 weeks later, when that American Express bill hits, then you just pay that off instead. And your contractor is taken care of early. Mm-hmm. You've gotten points to go to Disney World on your American Express card. Right. Everybody's happy. And so I just don't understand, especially on a small invoice, like, oh, $1,000, and I'm working with a Fortune 500 company, and they're telling me, oh, we haven't been paid by.
That's like, exactly what happened to me. I mean, not Fortune 500, but like this is a pretty big company, and it was just a $1,300 invoice that went, you know, or that was let go for like over 3 months, and it's just like, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah.
And to, you know, when they're like one of those clients, which fortunately we don't have, I think, any of at this point, that are like, oh, well, we only do net 90. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I would never get a net 90.
Oh, after 90 days, then I'm going to have to start hounding you for the money. It's like, is it worth waiting 4 months to get $1,000?
Hell no.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the only reason I accepted this last one is because I'm, you know, it was like $1,300 in half a day's work or something.
Yeah.
You know, so. But whatever, yeah. It's still not worth it if they're just going to take for freaking ever.
So let's do some links.
Links. You going to play your special Dave's Links song?
I will in post.
Okay, awesome.
Here goes. Yeah, that was a good sound bite.
Love that song. Bite. Yeah.
All right, so number 1, hidden breakdown and project files. This is from...
It's from you. Yeah, I posted this. Yeah, so if you haven't
still technically Dave's links. See?
Exactly. Yeah, we can both do Dave's links. It's pretty sweet. If you haven't seen Sakani Solomon's project Hidden, it's like probably one of my top like 2 or 3 favorite projects that I've seen this year. It's just extremely beautiful and I think original. Like it's breaking away from the normal, the thing that we always see, which is sci-fi, and it's got more of an emotional message, and it's a and it's got flowers and all these really pretty things, and I, like when I saw those flowers blooming, I was like, how the hell did he do that and make it look so intricate and complex? And there are just so many moments in this piece that are incredible, like the cloth, the chains, the gold coming out, the person floating. There's just like tons of really, really good moments. Anyway, he released a breakdown and project files through this thing called Hold Frame, which is like some kind of new platform where they get like really big, awesome projects from artists. A lot of these are like vector, like After Effects type projects, or like, there's even stop motion. There's a High Stranger breakdown by Kirsten Lepore. You know her, right?
I know her. I met her IRL.
Right. That's what you told me. That's awesome. She's so cool. So anyway, it's like this platform for project breakdowns, but this is just like $35, and it's like an hour-long interview with Sakani, and then an hour-long breakdown where he tours you through all the project files, all the scenes, and explains how he did everything. So it's definitely, I think, worth the money. Plus, you get the actual project files, especially if you're doing Redshift stuff. This is like genius Redshift work here. So, just a really cool resource, and I used it to help me make the flower that blooms in my music video. And I was really, I had a hard time. I was really pissed because it didn't look anywhere near as good as Sakani's, but it was good enough for the project. So that one and the Daniel Danielson tutorial on his flower growing stuff, I combined those two to make my flower. Cool.
Nice. A couple follow-ups real quick to what we were talking about a minute ago. I missed this. I didn't catch the name. It went off the screen here, but somebody was saying that Toys R Us, now that they're closed, they can talk about this, but Toys R Us used to pay their contractors only once a year.
Whoa.
That's
Damn.
crazy.
That's insane.
And then Liam also said what he does with some clients who are consistently paying late on Net 30 is he switches them to Net 15, which I have done as well before. Switch to Net 15. What's funny, these clients sometimes don't even notice that you've changed it to Net 15.
Right.
They'll be, oh, that's due? Okay. Well, now it will take 2 weeks for me to send the check.
Right, so then you get it on time. That's hilarious. That's a great tactic, actually.
We have one in particular that we do that with all the time now, because it was consistently 2 or 3 weeks late, 2 or 3 weeks late, and the switch to Net 15, and now everything comes in on time. So,
that's awesome.
Whatever.
Pro tip.
Yeah. Okay. Semi-permanent 2018 titles.
So I love like pretty much all the semi-permanent titles every year. Like, I've talked way too many times about the one from 2015 that Raoul Marx did. Yeah. But this one's amazing. It's a bigger project. It's not just one person. It's like a bunch of artists. But it's directed by Joyce Ho. And I'd never heard of her before. But then I dove in a bit more and realized that I've been pretty into her work for years, because there's this piece from 2013 that she creative directed called ADBNE, or you can just search analog/digital opening titles. That's easier to remember, analog digital, which is, I think, another like conference. But so for a while I was obsessed with this double exposure technique from like True Detective's opening titles. And I was trying to recreate those when I was working at my first job for Dave Matthews.
Disappointed in that series, by the way.
Oh, I never watched the second season. The first season was amazing, and everybody told me the second season sucked, so I didn't watch it. But
there's an initiative. Sorry. I heard there's an initiative to redo the second season.
Nice.
Or something.
That's funny.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. But yeah, the opening titles, kind of popularized this double exposure technique for a while, and like the way they did it with Cinema 4D and like projection, camera projection was super interesting. That was another Raoul Marx project. But then Joyce Ho did this other one, like I was mentioning, called Analog Digital, and it was my other big reference when I was trying to do some double exposure stuff, because they had their own unique spin on it, which involved like mocha tracking bodies and getting the imagery inside the bodies to deform with it really smoothly. So it looked like these people were made out of like mountains or out of buildings, or like really, really interesting stuff. I didn't post the link because it's a bunch of naked people and we didn't want to put that on the live stream. But check that out. So that's called Analog Digital, opening titles, 2013. But this one, the semi-permanent 2018 titles that Joyce Ho creative directed, are really, really cool and different looking. And they're inspired by this biologist, Ernest Haeckel, who was like this artist and biologist who lived in the 1800s and had this really distinctive style of drawing microorganisms and other really interesting forms in nature. Like if you saw this stuff, you would recognize it immediately from like biology textbooks. It's like really like kind of precious looking drawings where it almost looks like an isometric camera or something, you know, very like flattened perspective, and really cool looking. But yeah, it's this project is, you know, very inspired by that, and they have these microorganisms that pop up that look like that type of art, but then made into 3D with this like really killer lighting and mood, and the colors in it are amazing. Like I love the color palette, and it's also interesting how they combine so many different types of art. Like there's this guy I think that does just work with swirling paints, and there's like a ton of swirling paint, but then combined with CG that looks like it's affecting it. And I don't know how they did all of that. And there's a bunch of breakdowns and like behind the scenes stuff, which is cool too. And so Mei Sun also worked on this one. So I thought this was a cool, you know, link to put out there.
Cool. And yeah, you linked to the Oppo X, which we talked about last week. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, but
not a ton. I mean, I loved, again, the color in it, like how it's like kind of black and white, but then with this hint of red everywhere that's like consistent throughout. And then again, I love it because it's, you know, one-man band project for 2 months is rad. And then I love like the simplicity, but like also beauty of some of the stuff, like creating a scatter of like a forest, right? And then swapping that with a scatter of cubes, like having that like nature transition to digital seamlessly. And then like when that dude steps, the footprint is like my favorite moment, that beautiful ripple. Like there's something about the easing that Somei does that's just insane. Like from his eye is so trained with that stuff from and creating animation curves from all of those phone spin type videos, you know? And then what else? I don't know. The transition from like the phone screen with the X that then splits apart into this crazy, like, I don't even know, you know, like digital Greeble tunnel, like that was crazy. And then like when the Rubik's Cube drops, like, you know, that red Rubik's Cube and like kind of does this crazy, like the camera like kind of follows it down, and then we cut down to a lower camera that whip pans with it, but then like kind of falls with the object and does this gushy ease that's just like the cube. So it's got like this impact and the camera move, and then when it like explodes into that ripple, the camera like, you know, jets backwards a little bit and reacts. So it's like the camera is reacting and kind of dancing with the object. So I love that kind of stuff. Like the way he did those camera moves is super cool to me.
I'm hoping for a breakdown. I think we talked about that last week.
People have been pressuring him to do that online. Yeah. I mean, and people are like telling me to do a breakdown of my ice caves thing, and I'm like, hell no, that's too much work. I'd rather just record a tutorial, you know?
I was gonna say, can't you sit there and like just open some files and talk about it a little bit? I mean, isn't that enough of a breakdown? Not like a super involved crazy breakdown where you got to do a lot of editing and all that.
Yeah, but I could, but I would rather rebuild some. Like I like to show. I mean, breakdowns are really cool, but I like to show everything. Like I like to do it start to finish. So I'm gonna try to incorporate like the way I built the ice caves into a tutorial. You know. Okay. And then anything else we can just talk about like right here. Like I've got like in a little bit we can talk about some of the more technical details. Like I already mentioned the stuff about light rays and that extra volumetric pass. There's a bunch of things like that, but we'll get into real flow here in a bit.
It would be fun even if, you know, we're going to be doing after we get this project out of the way, we're going to be doing some more live stream stuff in between Liam's live streams because he's gone to every other week now.
Oh yeah, I could do a breakdown like for that for sure.
Or yeah, something where we just sit and talk live and maybe bring up Cinema 4D, more of a relaxed live video thing. Not, basically like if you and I were and Matt, we don't do this as much as anymore as we used to, but we would just sit on Skype and just like hang out and talk about stuff on cinema cool. And play with things and show each other what we were working on. Just
for sure.
So that might be fun.
Yeah.
And this next link is called Simulating Plant Life. This one I hadn't heard of.
Yeah, I don't remember where this just popped up on my Facebook, and it made me super jealous of Houdini work yet again, because I feel like this just puts Forrester and even Speed Tree's wind simulations to shame. And I don't know how it was done, but it's just like some really complex, beautiful, and realistic looking palm trees. It's simple in concept, but yeah, it's like I don't know how you would go about making the wind simulations look so damn realistic,
Do you know what this was done in? I guess. Well, you said Houdini, right?
Yeah. I don't know what it was rendered in. It looks like either Octane or Redshift or maybe Arnold. But it's got the beautiful transmission coming through the leaves, and like there's a lot of extra detail, like those little coconut whatever those are, and the kind of roots and bramble coming off of that. It's a really nicely detailed looking tree model. Like the variation in color is all super nice.
See, these were probably not built in Houdini. They were probably brought into Houdini from something else, don't you think?
Yeah. I don't think nobody's going to model a tree in Houdini or any software, but the simulation, is Houdini, and that's what's really bringing it to life. Which with each of those individual leaves just like flapping in that cool way, it's awesome.
What else here? Okay, I have a link. This is interesting. This is something that I'm just getting into because we are working on a project with Raid Zero right now, actually.
Nice.
And of course he's killing it. And so my question was, like, if you're a contractor and you're working with contractors and you're in the U.S., you get a W-9 and you send a 1099 miscellaneous or whatever at the end of the year. And
right. How do you work with international clients is a big question. I don't know. And I've worked with several international clients and they don't send any tax forms, and I don't know whether to report it or not. And like when I pay people that are overseas, it's a similar thing. Like I report it when I pay people overseas, but it doesn't link back to them at all. It's just like an additional, like write-off basically, but it doesn't go, they don't get a tax form. So yeah, I don't know how to deal with those situations. I've just been fudging it.
Well, there's a lot of stuff as a business that, I'm reporting how much I made, and like there's not necessarily like a place for corporate taxes to enter the individual 1099s, but you still get them, but then you still have to report it. It's this whole thing. But basically there's some stuff that relies on the honor system, not to say that it's not trackable. Like if you get audited, then
you have
they're
to
going
show
to look at that.
Who you paid and where that went to, or vice versa.
Yeah, so you have to be as meticulous and accurate as you can, but they're not going to go back and check every little detail of that unless you get audited.
Right.
So you still want to be close. And so, as close as possible. But this is what Phil and I were figuring out about this. There's a Form W-8BEN, and it's a Certificate of Status of Beneficial Owner for United States Tax Withholding and Reporting. And so, like, I'll post a link to that, and I think that we figured out that's what we have to do just to have some sort of record that we did business with each other. It helps that he's got a U.S. bank account, for those purposes and stuff. That always helps. But, it was one of those things where, like, I was like, well, we really need to work together. And I'm like, wait a minute, how do we do that? Oh, and speak of the devil, he just showed up.
Yep.
right there in the chat. So check that out. Also, fan of the show, Paul Robinson from way back in the day, original OG listener, is working on kind of an indie film, kind of guerrilla style type thing. And so he's got this podcast that just came out, which is called the Go Gorilla Podcast.
Sweet.
And they're documenting how they're doing their film. I think they did I think it was a Kickstarter. I don't remember if it was like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, which one it was. I think they did a Kickstarter and then went from there. So I'll be.
Isn't this the Paul Robinson that's friends with Gaten DeSimone and did work on?
They worked together.
Yeah.
For a while.
WWE stuff. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then another cool little resource. This is called Symbol Signs, and it's like EPS, Illustrator objects of very simple, common things like that you would see out in public, like an escalator sign or an exit sign or a telephone sign.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you need that kind of thing.
This is like the Swedish design. Like it's like almost like the Helvetica of icons,
Yeah.
Yeah.
AIGA.org, AIGA.org.
Yeah.
It's standards or something, but it's just a good resource to have in your back pocket. And then there's a funny link. This is called How to Tell a Loved One That They're Coiling Their Cables Wrong.
That's awesome.
There is, because like when you're in the industry, when you're doing a lot of shows, when you're doing a lot of live stuff, it's such a pain when it's mainly like when someone tries to help you, and you don't want to be a jerk, but like someone rolls a cable, they're like, here, I rolled this for you, and it's just a complete garbled mess, and you're like, thanks. Yeah. And so you get to a point where you're like, no, I don't need help rolling these cables, just go do this other thing instead, because you're going to do it wrong. So when there are people that roll it wrong and they don't do the over-under method, it sucks. It screws everything up. Things get tangled. Do you know how to over-under?
I vaguely do. I know that like you kind of wait until cables get bad memory, and then when you kind of let it go the way that it wants to is how I was taught. But then I think the over-under is a little more complex. Can you explain it?
Gosh, how do you explain? I mean, you're just one wrap goes one direction, and then you do this twist with your wrist, and it goes the other direction.
Do you always alternate? Do you just go like over, under, under, period? Okay. See that? Yeah. I think that what I learned was like cables that have bad memory and are already jacked. You just go one direction until they want essentially to go the other way, and then wrap it the other way, and then keep going. So I don't know, but yeah, I think it sounds like over under is best for like starting it out that way and continuing forever to do that. That
makes sense. But there's like when you have really long cables and somebody comes up to you and they've never done it before and they're trying to help you, and they take it and they will wrap it around their arm like this, and then they give it to you and you're like, no, because then you have to unravel it on the floor and it's just knotted and gross.
Yeah, totally.
Ryan, I think it's Ryan Origami in the chat says, where can I find the links that we're talking about? Those will be in the show notes for the episode as soon as the podcast is posted, which should be either this afternoon or tomorrow on brograph.com/podcast. Okay, let's move to VR Corner.
Cool.
So
we need some kind of like VR Corner.
You know, I don't know how this happened. I actually have a couple more links. They're in the wrong section.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah, how did that get messed up like that? Okay. Somebody, again, names that I can't pronounce. Sem Teskin posted a link. I think this was in the Octane Facebook group, as well as it's on ArtStation, and it's a Commodore 64. And it was so good. The way it was taken, it looked like it was a flash photo of an old Commodore 64.
Nice.
And so he had that, and then he had all these other shots of it. It was so good that I thought the first photo was the original photo and that he had done the other ones subsequently in 3D.
Oh my God. I thought that too just now.
Yeah, the whole thing was real. So this really got me excited because I was a huge Tandy.
Wait. Explain to me. Is the second thing is CG, right?
I think it's all CG.
It's all CG?
Yeah, because he posted one of them has a breakdown and it shows the mesh of that original photo, and I was like,
dude, whenever
you look
he
at the
did
motherboard,
to like beat up the like renders and make it look like overly like clipped and blooming in certain spots, just looks like it was taken with some old like Polaroid or this looks like the 90s. I don't know how the hell he did this.
It's good.
Is extremely believable.
If you look at the motherboard that's kind of sitting in the corner, like almost off the frame, you'll notice that the geometry of the motherboard it looks like something maybe a model he got from somewhere, but it was kind of an afterthought kind of in the corner, so it's not as good as the rest. And then you can see Octane noise in the motherboard right there.
Oh, did he do this in Octane?
I think so, yeah.
Cool.
I think it was on the Octane Facebook group, but it was so good. And then that got me excited because I grew up with Tandy computers and Color Computer 3, and I still have my Color Computer 3. And I was like, man, I need to find old photos of the setup that I had when I was a kid and try and recreate this setup and build the disks, the floppies, and the computer and all of that, because I feel like I'm the only person I know that had a Color Computer 3.
Yeah.
I was so into it.
That's awesome. This is blowing my mind right now.
That's really good, huh?
Just the level of quality of the assets, and like he says he focused on flash photography, which totally makes sense why it looks so real, because he's got like this front lit, like blown out, look. I wonder the extents he went to emulate flash photography. It's pretty amazing.
It was one of those things where I think I looked at the other photos and I was like, wait a minute, there's a wireframe in that first photo. I thought that was a reference photo.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
I don't go on ArtStation enough. Me
neither. ArtStation has the coolest stuff. I mean, it's only for stills, but like, it's just mind blowing. I mean, a lot of it's like matte painting and like actual drawings and Photoshop madness. Yeah, it's super cool.
And then there's have you used Mesh Boolean?
No. What's that?
It's from Hello Lux, and I'm not sure if this is new or old. Like I've heard about it a lot recently, and I'm like, well, is this because it's new, or I just haven't heard of it before? And it's just like a great Boolean tool. Like, better than the default.
Oh, I've seen the I think I've seen the breakdown for this. Yeah. Yeah, I have. Yeah, it looks cool. If I were to do this type of stuff, I would probably just use Fusion 360. So I wouldn't maybe bother with this. I'm a lot of the time I'm like hesitant about. I have some resistance to installing lots of plugins, because then you have to install them on all your machines, and it's just kind of annoying. Unless it's something I use a lot, But that's definitely cool.
Maybe R20 will have a better Boolean system.
Maybe.
I've got a lot of hopes for R20, so
yeah.
There's so many things.
I heard there's going to be some major changes. Yeah.
See, I've heard a lot of that stuff too, and there's going to be a point where we're not going to be allowed to talk about it anymore.
Yeah,
because we're coming up on SIGGRAPH. And so since we're working at the booth, we're going to have to have a gag order here pretty soon, because we may or may not hear some things, because when you're around all of that, it's not that people do stuff on purpose, but sometimes you hear things and you're like, I don't know if I'm supposed to know that or not. So there's at a point where, Matt and I just have to kind of be quiet.
You guys are just too far into the cool club is the problem.
Yeah. That's what it is.
So Grant, Grant said, Mesh Boolean still uses the same maths from stock Boolean in C4D. So it's prone to bugging out a little, but it still has a lot of control versus the standard Boolean.
Yeah. Gav
Grant says, we can't tell you.
There's so much of that. There's some stuff we're going to finally be able to talk about here pretty soon, and I'm so excited.
Cool.
Okay, so there's a political ad by, I think this woman's name is MJ Hagar, and
Hodor? No.
she's Hodor. Texas woman running for Congress. She used this. She did this viral ad. It's interesting because like it has really good VFX production quality, but the rest of it was like they used like no lighting, somebody's handheld gimbal camera or something, real prosumer level.
Mm-hmm.
But the VFX on this are really great. It's this whole like guerrilla ad that she did where she's going through these different sections of her life, and it's like doing this really cool transition, like almost morph transition between the scenes, and you just have to see it to see what I'm talking about. But I swear it's one of those things where like somebody she knew was really good at VFX, and so they kind of just guerrilla shot this stuff and did something really cool, and it's kind of gone viral. So
sweet.
I'll post a link to that. And then School of Motion did an article this week.
I've been meaning to check this one out. Yeah, I want to hear this.
It's a Paul Babb article.
It's an article or is it a podcast? Oh, it's a podcast, right?
Oh, I thought it was an article. Maybe.
Yeah, they always post the podcasts like this in a kind of a elaborate form. But yeah, it's a podcast with good old Paul Babb.
Dude, we gotta have Paul on the show.
Duh.
Seriously, man. This is called How Cinema 4D Became the Best 3D App for Motion Design.
Best app.
Yeah. So it is a podcast episode. I haven't had a chance to check it out. In fact, I think I just saw that last night or something, and I was like, oh, I got to put this in the notes. Okay. So back to VR Corner. Yes, we do need a jingle for that.
Yeah. I want it to be kind of like... the Crossfire jingle from the 90s, like Crossfire.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that works. It's not like the same cadence.
Maybe.
VR Corner, you'll get caught up in that.
Oh, wow, that was pretty good.
Thanks.
All right, we'll clip that and we'll just use that from now on. How about that? Nice. Actually, no, I'll take that and I'm going to give it to Tokyo Megaplex and have them remix
it. Nice.
There you go. Two things, and one of them isn't really VR, but there wasn't a good, good like place to put this link. Oh, Liam says there's a shout out to Brograph in there a couple times. That's interesting. In the Paul interview? All right. Check that out. The Infinidec omnidirectional treadmill. So this is a treadmill that you can walk on, and there's been something like this before, but this video actually shows the technology behind this and how they're doing it so that you can walk in any direction on this treadmill while you're playing VR and feel like you're walking.
That's
and how
sweet.
It like anticipates the direction you're going in and the momentum and figures out how to not make you sick and like all of this stuff. So I just thought it was really interesting as far as VR. Now this other link.
The thing is that the games have to start designing for this in mind. There's not a whole lot of games where the mechanic is to actually walk places. It's usually teleporting.
Which is great. I love teleporting. I love teleporting, how it works and how you don't get sick. It was the best move that all of these game companies did.
How much does this thing cost, by the way, this treadmill?
And I don't know, but okay, the other link though is not VR, but I just had to bring this up because because of us and Halo, there's a new Halo announced. So we're gonna have to check this out, dude, because God, we haven't had any good Halo time. And I swear, when I tried to play Halo with you guys when you were in town for that
was the most frustrating experience ever.
Well, not only was it really hard to get that going or whatever, but whenever you hooked it up inside the house, I tried to play and I
just forgot everything.
I forgot so bad. It was like I don't remember how to play. Like it was really sad. I was like, man, this I lost my muscle memory, like everything. It was like all the projects I worked on for the last year went in my head and like
replaced the video game knowledge.
Like it was gone, dude. I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt like a 5-year-old trying to play Halo.
I'm sad. We should boot it up sometime just for funsies, whether it's like just, murdering each other in a like custom match or whatever, just to get our Halo legs back. It's so much fun. I've actually played some video games lately. Like I played all of because I would have to like vent and like, just go do something when, to get away from my ice cave project that was never ending. I played through all of God of War on that project, the new one. It's super fun. Definitely one of the best games I've played in like months and maybe a year or something. I don't play a whole lot of video games anymore, but yeah, you should. Do you have a PS4 or no? You just got the Xbox One.
Xbox One. Yeah.
Yeah. But that one is amazing. And then let's see, I played through Celeste, which is this 2D game that's like, it's pretty hard, but it's got this awesome story and just amazing vibe. And that one's on the Xbox One, so you should check that out.
Real quick, I noticed a comment here from Lassie. Don't even know how to pronounce that last name.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you go to brograph.com/Slack and sign up for our Slack and go into an Octane channel or one of those other channels, Octane channel, because it's an Octane thing. I think people can help you with these IES files. It just went past the chat so quick I couldn't even see what the question was. If you want to email it to us as well, we can maybe talk about it on the next show. All right, what's the other one you were playing? What's the other game you're playing?
It's called Celeste.
Celeste. I've heard of that.
You should try it. It's really, really fun.
Celeste. I know. I like looked at this the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those are my two favorite. No, well, it's on Switch. I think it's on all of the consoles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know what I've been playing, and again, just randomly. Well, for one, when Tokyo Megaplex started talking about SSX, that's
Yeah, I loved all the SSX games.
I started playing that again.
Nice.
The other day. So much fun.
Tricky, and I liked SSX 3 a lot too for the kind of downhill mountain experience thing that they did. Those were the best two games, were Tricky and SSX 3.
But the one that they did for Xbox,
it's not supposed to be as good, I heard.
It's not as good in certain ways, but there are some really cool things about it. And even at this point, this is an old game, but you can get it for like $5 or $4.99 on the Xbox Live Store now. So I got that. I've been playing that. I've been playing, of course, I always and forever will always play Grand Theft Auto.
Nice.
I just take out my cheats and just start doing crazy stuff. But I started playing, oh crap, what's the name of it now? Crap. Okay, you'll remember this because I saw your name in there in the scores. So I know that you've been playing this game. It's the one with the motorcycle.
Oh, yeah. Trials Fusion.
Dude, that game is so addictive. Like, it's so simple. Yeah. But, like, you load it up, and there's a cat riding a unicorn with a rainbow, and it's like,
Cyrus
welcome to the future.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Cyrus and I have been playing multiplayer with the unicorn cat thing. It's pretty fun.
Dude, that is so fun. There's a level I'm stuck on, though.
They've got a Blood Dragon version
of
Trials. I mean, Trials is a whole franchise, but there's the game Far Cry Blood Dragon, which is like this shooting game that takes place in the 80s, and it's all like super campy and cheesy. There's a version of Trials that's in that same universe with just over the top weirdness, and like a lot of the time you're like shooting from the bike, or they're like actual like platforming shooting levels. It's not as good as Fusion, but there's some really funny stuff in there.
The other one?
Tokyo Megaplex said, "Did someone say SSX?" His ears perk up whenever.
Yeah. Oh no. Fusion Frenzy. Did you ever play that? That was such a fun party game.
I have actually. Yeah, it's been a long time. I need to download that again because that is a really fun party game. That's like Mario. It's like got Mario Party vibes, for all the video game mini games. Yeah, that's awesome. And
there were two versions of it. There was a part 2, but the problem was I looked it up the other day. I think it was on original Xbox, not on 360. So it was upward compatible or backwards compatible with 360, but you can't go and like get it in the store or anything. I wish they would bring that back.
Yeah.
But nobody gives a crap about multiplayer in
it
the
gets
room
me
anymore.
so angry because that's all I want to do,
I know.
And our family likes to play games all together, so we've been finding some good ones. Like there's this one called Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, which is super fun, where you are in this little like bubble like alien spaceship, and each person controls some aspect of the ship, whether it's like driving or different shooting and upgrades, and it's really fun. It's like a game that you all have to participate and solve together. And then there's something called Overcooked on the Switch, which is, and it's on other platforms too, but it's super fun, but also can be like very infuriating. You have to all use like teamwork to cook, meals together and like serve them up, and it gets more and more frenetic. And then like the levels will start splitting apart, or you'll be on a big ice block, or running between two trucks that are driving down the highway and still have to like cook stuff. It's just like absurd. But yeah, I love that game. It's super fun.
Oh, man, we need to have like a whole game day on this show at some point.
That would totally be fun, because I could go on for a very long time about video games for sure.
Yeah. Well, because as graphic artists with GPU rendering, we
absolutely
tend to get into the gaming thing.
I get so pissed looking at like God of War. I think I said this on the School of Motion podcast, but like I got so pissed like a lot of the time looking at this stuff that's like rendered in real time and looks better than anything I could create, because it's like that, it's like the syndrome where there are thousands of artists making this stuff, so it still looks, even though it's optimized in real time, it looks amazing because of the art direction and because of just if you throw enough people at a problem, it's just going to look so much better. And yeah, like the snow, like when you're walking around, the snow clicks around your feet, and then like it's I was like looking at the ice in the game. I'm like, this practically looks better than the stuff that takes my computer 50 hours to render per shot. Right. Like, there's not that big of a difference. This is so infuriating.
Oh, Gav Grant, so there's a gaming channel on our Slack now? See, I didn't even know that. You didn't
even know.
Our Slack has a mind of its own.
Gone running without you. Yeah, exactly. But speaking of like actual VR games, I finally fired up the Oculus after a while once I was done with the project, and downloaded Beat Saber, and that was like the most fun I've had playing video games in a long time, and also the most exercise I've gotten in a long time. It's right. Like, you wouldn't expect it to be that much exercise, but like I quickly ramped up to expert mode and managed to beat a level on expert mode. And like it makes you squat like a lot. So like my legs were on fire the next day. I could hardly walk because of the number of times because I was like playing the same level over and over. I'm like squatting all the time, and it's just like, yeah, but it's addictive and brings me back to my music rhythm game days of DDR and Guitar Hero. So it's wielding two lightsabers while like rocking out to EDM music that's blasting your ears.
Yes.
Like there's nothing better. And like I was playing, and Chelsea like came up and didn't realize that I couldn't even hear her, or that I knew that she was in the room at all. I was just rocking out so hard, and she like
be careful about
she
that.
Like touched my back gently, which was like a nice thing to do to let me know I was there. But it still made me like jump 10 feet in the air. I was like, wah! Scared the crap out of me.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Like you'll get hit, man.
Yeah.
You'll get hit. People are doing that. My daughter's around. I'm like, no, stand back. They don't see you. Yeah. Get run over. All right. I joined the gaming channel. Apparently there's a sports things channel on here. This ball go far.
Sports ball.
The sports balls. So the funny thing about being in this industry and having all these graphics cards is it's like I have Steam, and I have a lot of stuff that I bought on Steam and I'll play on Steam, but for some reason it's just easier for me to sit down in front of a console sometimes.
I keep telling my family this, like I'm like, I do not want to play video games on the computer where I sit most of the day. It's I'd much rather like sprawl out on the couch. And so we've got like all the consoles, and I just prefer playing video games that way anyway. But I should probably I have a lot of PC games as well, so I should probably get like a Steam Link or something,
Well, here's the one thing though that is really cool is that a lot of these games will adapt to the screen resolution of your ultra wide monitor.
Nice.
So playing 4K ultra wide Grand Theft Auto is really cool. It's very immersive.
That's awesome.
Which, by the way, you got a widescreen. You got a 20.
I
What is
did.
it, 21 by 9?
I don't know what the aspect is. I know it's
It's the ultra
14
wide. It's probably
it's the ultra wide Dell. I think it's 1440 by 3440 or something like that.
Oh, you didn't get
reverse
the
of it.
4K.
It's almost 4K. Let me see. I'll just type it in right here. Display. Change display settings. It is 3440 by 1440.
Oh, okay. You did get the 4K. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
I just set it backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, because the LG ones that are out, I have talked about this before, but the LG ones, there's really 3 options for you.
Mhm.
It's to get the lower res, kind of a little bit better than HD quality, kind of in between HD and 2K, and then
Mhm.
there's the step up that's like twice the price for
Right.
the 4K version. It is so worth it to do the step up for the 4K, but it is not worth it to do the curved. Do not do the curved display.
You know, I couldn't find anything without a curve, and I did get the curve, and it's a light curve, and it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would. I'm okay with it, and I like Dell monitors a lot. Like all my monitors are Dell because I like the color profile options, and they just seem very professional. So yeah, I'm
not that the curve's
happy with it.
bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the curve is bad. I'm just saying like
Okay.
it's a lot of money to pay for the upgrade.
Oh, okay. This one was 600, I think.
See,
Not-
that's pretty good.
yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I guess.
mine was the $650 to $700 range. It's the
Mhm.
LG, but it's like $300 more to get it curved. And when you're working in front of it, you don't even realize that it's curved.
Yeah, yeah.
So she said.
Dude, I've
so-
been like holding myself back on that joke. Like when I'm like, yeah, it's curved. I don't know how I feel about it. You know, I don't know how it'll work for me. You know, it's just like really hard to restrain yourself with the dick jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be really hard.
So hard. We're hilarious. All right.
Always
let's
keep me
continue.
satisfied.
Yeah.
You really think you can go all day? All right. All right, let's go to Beeple's People.
All right.
All right, so get out your Beeple viewer of choice.
Awesome.
I'm really excited about this. This first one especially. We'll go to June 26th, Year Overlord 2018. And this one here is called Opt Out 2092.
Oh yeah, I love this. Yeah, yeah.
Now, I do have to tell you that in my where's my laptop? Oh, hold on. Now, in my notes that I've been taking, my copious notes, I have been going through in that notes program I was talking about. What is it called? Good Notes. Dude, Good Notes is so dope. Let me
Cool.
tell you,
I'll
and
check
let
it
me
out.
tell you that I absolutely love having the giant iPad.
Sweet.
All right, let me go to my Beeple's People tab here, and be cool if I could like send this to the stream like I did that one time. One
Yeah.
of these copious pages of notes. Here's one of my pages of timeline. I don't know if you can see this or not, but
There you go. Nice,
I-
nice.
you know, these are pieces of the timeline when certain things happen based on what he wrote, and
Mhm.
talking to Houdini Mark, who has the whole thing on like he figured out if it's the iPhone 37 that it must be this year and all of that. So he's adding to my arsenal here with this.
You
new
guys
one
are
because
taking this
is,
way further than I ever thought we would.
dude. Okay. So I got to tell you, we did get Beeple's blessing to write this.
Oh, awesome.
Which is awesome because I was like, okay, well, we got to make sure he's cool with it. So he was Facebooking us. He's calling us goobers and stuff
Of course.
like he does. And so I was like, yeah, I've got this whole grandiose like idea. Like we're gonna write this book, and then it's like gonna blow up, and like someone's gonna want to do the movie, and so like Beeple can like art direct the movie. And then Andrew Kramer will get involved somehow, and then like
Nice.
Deadmau5 will do the music for it. And
Sweet.
I've got all these like super crazy ideas for it. And yeah, whatever.
Someone,
Um,
I think earlier in the chat said that he should release or that it should be a tiny book for the tiny people's people. But the funny thing is, he already released a book of all of his daily renders like at one point, and I bought it expecting it to be a large book, but it's this tiny little pamphlet thing where you can barely see the renders.
yeah. Yeah, there's
what is this?
There's
school
also
for ants?
Yeah. What is this? Beeple for ants?
Beeple for ants?
There's the books that they do, like the Instagram books. I'm thinking like that size might be kind of cool, but my thought is that you gotta love when a book has pictures in it, right? Like I don't know if when you were a kid, like my parents had a bunch of books on the shelf, and I'd take them out, and you remember back in the maybe 80s or 90s, the books in the middle would have like 10 pages of like glossy colored photos.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the book was just a book. I'm thinking book. Like that, but like whenever something that happens is based on one of the renders, I want to put that page in there. Yeah. So you're following.
You've got to tie it in with the renders the whole time. It's got to be like, I'd say like 50% imagery and 50% text, that for every time you turn the page, you see an image, and then you see the storyline or multiple storylines, depending on, because I mean, Sage has got a pretty epic one too.
Oh, it's going to be multiple books. Multiple books.
This is so ridiculous.
And like Bat and I were talking about too, like maybe it's alternate universes and different versions. Like this could really have, I mean, this could be the next Star Wars,
Yeah, totally. We'll make a movie out of it, the whole thing.
Yeah. All right. So this adds to, and this is the latest year I think so far that I've come across is 2092. And this is called Opt Out 2092.
That's what happens if you opt out. Get chased by a giant Google robot.
Yeah. And I mean, this follows along because if you look at the years like coming up to that, hold on, let me get up my Beeple reference again. If you look up the years going up to the Google robot, the opt-out thing, there's actually you can see where the technology is progressing because like in 2073 you had the Genius Bar, and then 2079 you had Google Data Center. In 2087 you had Netflix 2087, and this is when like the robots and stuff started happening. In 2091 you've got, oh no, that isn't the latest one. Okay, in 2091 you had Amazon mobile site 2091. And so this is where all these different businesses are coming into play, Amazon, Google, and all that. 2094, you had Microsoft Cloud 2094. But this is right in between. So like I've got to figure out how this is going to fall into the storyline. So these people are running from the Google robot, but also this is one of the ones where he did the video.
Yeah, I love his Everydays in Motion. They're awesome. And I think he used can I do the technical stuff real quick? Because that's kind of more my interest. I think he used the new Kit Bash Slums pack, which is amazingly cool. Yeah, everybody should check that one out if they haven't seen it already. It's like not quite as destroyed as the Warzone stuff, but like super gross and like extremely detailed. There's like AC units everywhere or fans and like grunge, and it's just like really, really well done, like props and like even little interior rooms and whatnot. So yeah, they went definitely over the top on that one, like in a really good way. I'm interested in, I love the mechanics and rigs that he's been doing with these. Like, you have to hand animate that stuff, unlike the Mixamo type people. Like the robots I think are a lot harder, and I wonder how long it takes to design like a robot like that. I just see those and I'm like, wow, that's awesome, and looks really good. I wonder if he's still using Cinema for all that stuff, or goes to Fusion 360 for some of these things.
I'm working on that side project, which is kind of taken aback because I've been working on the weekends too, on my regular work. But I'm about to get back to that next Sunday. I'm actually in the middle of rigging a robot right now.
Nice.
And kind of like doing the rig, kind of getting the general. This is my approach because I've never done it before, right? Like I'm not a rigging person, and I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. So my approach to it has been to do generic shapes that kind of make up kind of what the robot will look like, and rig that, and then use those as a starting point to then build out the actual robot. You know, because mine is one of those, you know, where the knees go bend the opposite direction of a human. You know,
creepy knees. Yeah, that's
creepy
awesome.
knees. So yeah, it's interesting to sit there and try and make something that's not like, what's the word I'm looking for? Mixamable.
Yeah, totally.
You know, where you have to do it yourself. You have to figure out these like weird joints and stuff yourself. But you know, the other thing about that is this wouldn't necessarily have to have been rigged either.
Why is that?
It's just very short and simple.
Oh,
you know?
I mean, I guess you could just do forward kinematics and all that stuff and just use a parent-child kind of relationship. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it could just be some nulls.
But it's really easy to create an IK setup, you know, with just like the legs. You know, I did that with the robots that I animated in my space music video. You know, it actually makes it easier because then, you know, you've just got your goal and your pole and all that stuff. And, you know, when you move the goal, then the whole thing shortens up like it should, versus like having to rotate each joint separately would suck, you know?
Yeah.
My question is, do you think that what in here do you think he added in post, or do you think it's all straight out of Octane?
Okay. I'm going to say that the laser light was done in post.
I'm not so sure. It's hard to tell. I mean, like, one thing that makes me think, I don't know, like when the camera shakes, there's motion blur and it streaks out everything.
I'm talking about in the still. In the still version of this.
Oh, I've been looking at the animated version this whole time.
Oh, yeah. See, it's different. Like the laser light in this, it is very, very. It's got a bit of a feather on it, but it's super clean and straight. And I think that was post. But the other thing that I noticed about the laser light going around in a circle on this is I'm pretty sure that this was masked in After Effects.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
There's a point where it goes in front of the people a little bit, and that wouldn't, like in a unbiased render engine, that wouldn't be possible.
Right. I agree with that. The thing that was throwing me is that when you get the vertical motion blur, like if you pause at certain instances, everything is blurring vertically, including the laser. And it looks like the laser's got some intrinsic motion blur, but that might be just because he added he may have added the camera shake in post and then just use After Effects motion blur.
Right.
But yeah, at the very least, I feel like the smoke is done in render and that he just used a fog volume for that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that it does look like that the flare and the not the light that's cast, you know, he had a red light there for sure, but the thing that's flickering and the laser beam all look to me to be like optical flares, you know.
This is one of those things where knowing the person who did the project helps you figure out the breakdown a little bit, because with him, there's either two things. He's either doing something to get it done fast, or he's specifically doing something to learn how to do a certain thing. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of these. He's learning how to do something. So it's like, is this a case where he wanted to figure out how to do that or learn how to do that specific thing? Or he was like, no, I got to get this out. I'm just going to do all of this in post real quick so that I can get my daily out the door and go back to, you know, another project. Or
Billy gave us the real truth here. He said that he used the Gorilla Cam plugin that he and Chad were tweeting about it. He used
there you go.
To do the shake. But yeah, like there are definitely moments with this laser where it's like impossibly crossing in front and then behind, or like halfway cut off, you know, where it's not like completely rotoed the way it should be. So yeah, the at the very least, I think the laser is done in post. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, as far as the story, I mean, I'm gonna have to think about this a little bit, but I do notice that there is motion blur on the arm of this guy, which is cool because.
Oh yeah, there's like Octane motion blur for sure. Yeah, all of it's got the proper motion blur. And then the other thing that I like is like their little black specks that fly by, which is a subtle detail, but just having that like those particles in the air is another really nice addition that you can miss those subtle details. But yeah, he's put a lot of effort into this one, which is really cool.
Yeah, I like that, like debris and stuff.
Yeah.
The question is, why are they running from it? What are they opting out of? All this and more will be answered. People's People, the book.
Nice.
I don't know. They're running away from this. What are they opting out of? They're opting out of
ads.
Yeah, they're opting out of like the Google tracking.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Back in the day, which is today, you could opt out of cookies. Now if you opt out, if you disable cookies, this is what happens.
Yeah, you're force fed the cookies.
Let that be a lesson to you. Okay, I don't want to talk about this one because I think this is one of the Adobe ones, and I generally skip over the Adobe ones, but this isn't on the list for today, but it is pretty crazy. Like the squad one that he did. Was that his 20? Because he also did a daily that day on the 29th.
Okay,
but he also did the Adobe stock one. I think these are a separate joint from the regular dailies because they're like, I don't know if they're sponsored, but it's like that Adobe partner. Adobe stock
I love
thing.
the squad one. Like I'm like, wow, that's so different from what he usually does, and it's so like the twitchy ears on that like dude in the middle is like my favorite thing ever. I don't like. How do you even? Are those characters available in Adobe Fuse? Is that a thing?
I don't know. That's what I was
need
wondering.
to like look at Adobe Fuse. I still haven't even done that.
Advertising doing its work.
Yeah.
It's getting you interested in checking out their service. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
it's definitely on the list. Like Fuse and Mixamo are super powerful. And I love the one from today, Dark Arts. It's so freaking weird. This dude like.
Well, that's the third one on the list. We got to go in order.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. June 29th is called Revolve. So it's like Evolve, but Revolve. This is interesting to me because the question is going to be, there's a lot of questions. Number one, did they bring dinosaurs back and then outfit them with robotics? Are they all robotic? Is this on another planet? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, see, I'm having an issue where he didn't post this on Instagram. I need to go to Twitter. I've seen it, or I saw it maybe on Facebook.
The dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs.
Oh, I see it on the stream. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's the... does he share scene files to look at? Some
of them.
Some of them. I don't know how much in the dailies he actually shares in comparison with other things. I think one of the problems that arises with that is if you have plugins or things you're using, that's pretty hard to share all of that and have it actually work or whatever. But this is going to be an interesting one to implement into the story. That's for true. But like the neck, there's nothing organic, I think, left in between the neck and the head here. And so I'm trying to figure out, what are these used for? Are these dinosaurs being controlled by something? Are they, like, what's the story behind it? I don't know.
Yeah, I love the replacing parts of the organic dinosaur with mech type stuff. It's super cool.
Is this kit bashy stuff? Is this all kit bash?
Maybe. I think that the parts in the dinosaur might be things that he's designed from previous stuff. A lot of it looks like his 0 day type stuff. But I think the building in the background, that spherical one, might
uses that a lot.
Yeah, that might be a kit bash from the... there were buildings that looked like that in the Space Colony one. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody posted the other day, I forget who it was, but they were working on something and they were using a French monkey bash pack or something. I was like, I recognize that part. I use that for a pinball machine.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, Dark Arts this is yesterday, so July 1st. This is very different.
Yeah. So different.
So what do you think? I got some ideas, but what do you think?
About the storyline?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's the Beeple worshippers that, maybe this is one of the overlords of the worshippers that gains his divine knowledge from these old computers. I don't know if this takes place in the past or whether it's actually the future and they're using this retro technology and worshipping the retro technology, but yeah.
Well, it's called Dark Arts, so it's almost as if, like, okay, so this is one of my things with the book, right? This is so far in the future, and it's not that far in the future, but it's far enough in the future that I think some things that have happened that have destroyed records of certain things, and things change over time to a point where, like, for example, emoji wars. Right, you got emoji wars and it looks funny, right? You're like, oh, there's a bomb and it's got a smiley emoji face on it and it looks silly, right? But in the future, that's a normal thing. Like over time, it became something that wasn't silly anymore. It's something that, like, emojis are just a normal thing, and so, like, no one sees the humor in it because it's so far in the future. And if you think about it the other way, if you think about, like, these computers and stuff, this Apple IIgs that's sitting here on the table and it's called Dark Arts. It's almost like, you've got these books here, and it's like maybe there are certain parts of history that were sort of erased, and maybe it's part of a religion or a cult, like summoning old computer programs. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. The things I love about this image are the books and how I don't know if he laid those out by hand, but there's like variety to the point where you really can't see the duplication in the books, which is pretty amazing. And it looks like they've maybe been simulated so that they lean on each other, or maybe he placed those by hand, but I feel like it'd be a lot easier to simulate. And then I love the candles with the bit of subsurface scattering. Is really, really nice. The lighting is just awesome. I am not sure, like the screen is cool because it's curved and it looks legit, but I imagine he's got an additional green light, because if you had a light that was, coming directly out of the computer, it would just blow out, you wouldn't be able to see that text on it. So I imagine he's got an invisible light sitting there to light up the dude's face and make it all greenified and match that lighting, which is a really cool touch, which really integrates the character and brings your focus to the character. So yeah, I love all that stuff. And the blue light that's hitting from him from behind just adds to the creepy vibe. And I love
it makes you think it's a window with, like, the moon coming through.
Exactly.
And you don't even have to see it. You
don't have to see it, but it feels like it's nighttime because of the darkness and the candlelight and all that stuff. And then the dusty textures that he's added over top are also really nice and adding to the kind of creepy, archival vibe of the whole thing.
Cool, yo. Well, that wraps the Beeple's People segment. Now, we do have one email social follow-up thing from Tokyo Megaplex.
I've got a small little bit of stuff that I wanted to share about my Ice Baby project, if that's cool, like the real flow stuff.
Yeah, let me do this email social thing real quick, and
cool.
And we'll hop to that. It's just one thing from Tokyo Megaplex. He said, just listen to the latest podcast with Billy as I'm on my way back to New York. Dave, he said, Day World is actually all Cinema 4D plus Octane. I heard the creator Cole Cush mention it on a podcast. Have been obsessed with Day World since it came out. And also Matt Brograph, the amazing title sequence you noted is created by Alan Resnick, who is one of my top 3 favorite 3D artists, and he uses all Cinema 4D Octane as well. Definitely check him out. He did the creative direction for Day World as well, and does some other Adult Swim infomercial stuff. He made a really cool short also for Super Deluxe called Johnny Bubble. You may have seen. I'm wondering if he does some of the infomercial. You know what infomercials are?
Yeah.
On Adult Swim, though.
No, I haven't seen ones on Adult Swim. No.
So it's like a slot, like late at night, somewhere like 4 a.m, where they put like these little shorts and stuff. They call them infomercials.
Maybe that's where my KFC work went. With Smearballs.
Probably, and that's probably where our train fellatio thing with Smearballs went too.
Yeah, totally.
What was I going to say? So there's the infomercial that my friend did that I posted in the notes last week as well. It was really good. It's like supposed to be like a Twitch type thing where there's a gamer, there's a guy, in the corner of the screen on his camera talking about the game. And he's going through this whole game, and it's like, it's basically like he's playing Halo, and he's showing you how to play Halo. But it's like it would be like if it were at the end of Halo, where everybody goes home, and now they're a vet, and they got to, the guy's got to go like live with his mom, and he's got PTSD and like this whole thing, and trying to recover from. He's got a day job working at the drugstore, putting labels on things, but then it goes into this whole meta thing where like he's also in a game, and someone else is showing his life and controlling his life through their own Twitch stream, and it keeps getting more and more meta in all these universes.
Inception.
Of people. Yeah.
Nice.
So check that out. So let's talk about some other stuff on your project.
Sure. I wanted to give Grant Inoue, aka G-Rant, and Chris Rutledge, aka Tokyo Megaplex, a shout out because they helped me a ton on this project. Grant did all of the remeshing of the mocap to fix the ugly render errors in the ice. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but when I got the animated head back, which had been, the mocap animation had been applied to, it was just an isolated head that was not attached to the scanned body. So I was getting all these weird shading errors, like the lip was darkened. And also I got back separate eyes and teeth, which is well and good when you're doing normal mocap for a human character that's got skin, but when you're dealing with ice, those things show through the ice and look skeletal. So she looked creepy AF unless I made her texture really rough, and that didn't look like ice. Like ice is shiny and stuff. So so Grant had this magic, remeshing in Houdini, basically treating it like a fluid sim where he would fill up any inner geometry. It was like filling it up with fluid, like a container, and so we lost any of that inner geometry and remeshed the whole thing almost as if it was chiseled out of ice. And even things like the teeth would show through the lips, and so he reduced that into just like a much more simple piece of geometry. So we did tons of revisions just to get the look to a point where it didn't look like disturbing, so like that uncanny valley thing was extremely hard with this project. And even though the mocap animation was really good, this was like facial motion capture, it still hits the uncanny valley thing and looks like it's my least favorite part of the project, just because when you see human faces moving, even though it's ice and it's abstract, it's still a little bit in that uncanny valley, because there's not all of the detail that we're used to seeing in Marvel movies, So all of that stuff was really hard. And Chris did all of the smoke sims in the beginning. So I kind of directed him to make this dry ice that never goes above a certain height. So that was really cool. And that aided a lot of the mood for the first shots. And he also helped me retopologize the arm shattering for the arm, in ZBrush, because I wanted a lighter version of that arm to shatter, because the scan was extremely heavy. So that was actually really easy to do. He showed me how the retopo tools in ZBrush are actually really sick, and they're pretty automatic. You just draw a few lines to direct where how the geometry flow is going to go. And you can keep adding more lines to redirect it and kind of simming it. It's almost like a sim to some degree, but yeah, it's really, really good at that stuff. And so I'm kind of keen to use ZBrush for that task in the future. It's a very confusing program, but there are certain tasks that you can jump in and jump out to just get things done. That and bashing up geometry is really easy in there too, which I kind of got the idea for that from Cornelius Domrich, seeing his workflow on 6088 AD, where he would take every model and just beat up the edges, and then and then on top of that
with that plugin.
No, he would go into ZBrush, beat up the edges, get actual dents in the geometry there, and then he would use the plugin on top of that. So the plugin is this special C4D plugin that will create little dings in the edges of things. It's really
The
cool.
lost plugin.
Yeah, it's like almost like by doing it with booleans, all these little booleans on the edge. But yeah, he also used ZBrush extensively to beat stuff up. So like that's kind of the break between the arm when your arm falls off, like it was way too clean and smooth. So Tokyo Megaplex showed me how to like just take a brush and like beat those edges up and make it look imperfect. So that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also wanted to talk about RealFlow for C4D because I love it. It's amazing. I've totally fallen in love with this plugin. And it's like way easier than X Particles and so much faster. It's not even funny. And plus you get motion blur, which you still can't do with X Particles, as far as I know, because you get the 3 individual vertex tags. And to me, that's a deal breaker if you can't have that. Like the look of fast moving fluids, without motion blur just looks gross to me. So I absolutely needed that. And then RealFlow is like so easy to push to insane degrees because you sim it on the GPU. So you can only use one GPU, but it's still like it's 10 times faster than X Particles with fluids, I found. Mm-hmm. So it was so easy to do that I actually like pushed it to such a degree that I almost broke Octane because I had this. It only took like a couple hours to complete this sim, and I thought it would be fine. And I didn't think I'd crank the resolution too high, but then it turned out to be 350 gigs and 20 million polys per frame. So
it changes every frame, so you got to recalculate every frame.
Yeah, and I thought, for a second I was like, I'm gonna have to resim this, but I was like, let's just see if it's possible. So I was on 3.08, and I load it, and it's like 20 minutes in and it hasn't even loaded a single frame. And I'm like, jeez. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give this one more shot. I'm going to switch to Octane 4.
I was going to ask. Okay.
So I'm hot swapping to Octane 4 and it like loads in like 10 seconds.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And
there is a good use case of because like no one's really gotten into it yet because it's still so beta-y.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing for the past like month is when I have a scene that takes too long to load, I switch to Octane 4, and that's been my best use of Octane.
Wow.
4. And it crashes like a mother, like all the time.
It's still beta, yeah.
I know it's still beta.
Yeah.
It's still super unstable, but like it doesn't crash if you're just rendering to picture viewer like that much. So like the place I find it crashes more is if you're navigating. So what I'll do is I'll like be in Octane 3.08 for all the design work. And then when I have to do the final render, just swap to 4 so I can like, blast it out real quick or,
Are you using standalone or are you doing the XB2 or whatever it is?
Now there's an XB3, but
nice.
I was using XB2. But because of the heaviness of that fluid sim, and it looks so cool, so I was like, I want to use it. I don't care. I'm just going to use it. It took like more than 30 minutes per frame to render on 4 1080 Ti's. So a lot of these shots like took like 50 hours or more for just like a 4-second shot. And then there's this one shot where like the 2 people that fill up with fluid kind of explode into particles, and the mesh, because it has to then remesh like every particle that's been separated, the mesh goes from like only like, I don't know, 1 million polys to like more and more and more until it's like 30 million polys. So that shot, just where all the fluid all drops, even though it doesn't even look that good, was by far the longest shot to render. And like some of those frames towards the end of, this little particle explosion, like took 4 hours per frame on 4 1080 Ti's. So some of these shots I'm just like,
oh my god,
I'm just gonna let it go, and like once this shot's done, I'm never re-rendering it. If it's like kind of jacked, that's fine. Like it would have been nicer if the water fell off in like sheets, and I could have used the sheeter daemon to do that, and maybe that would have been better for meshing the things and not have such a high poly count.
The sheeter daemon? Wait, what?
There's a sheeter daemon that basically what it does is it fills in holes and creates sheets of fluid versus like individual, particles. So that can be really good. And yeah, I could have done that. The issue I was having was also like I had filled these figures up with fluid, and then when I removed the collider to get it to fall, it kind of exploded, right? Because it's all fluid under pressure that then once the thing it's colliding with is gone, it just kind of bursts outward. So I had to like figure out ways to diminish that. And I don't know, that drop shot was a hassle. It still doesn't look that good, but it tells the story and I got through it. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I love when the water comes together and spirals. And
yeah, that was just a vortex demon, and then in the center I've got like an attractor, and it's like just colliding with the surface and flowing downwards, but not too difficult. And then there's a bunch of shots in the beginning where I'm using D-splines to create those tendrils, and D-splines are just like basically a way to direct parts of the fluid. So I had like kind of a tree-like network of D-splines, so it would kind of flow and then split apart and create these branching tendrils for some of it, which I wanted because I wanted to give the fluid intentionality. These are two people that have just melted and are kind of coming together in the afterlife of their fluidness, to meet. And then
is this like the first time that like how long have you been using this?
I've used it on like 2 other projects. It's okay. I used it on the weird like emo music videos I was doing where I needed to make some viral looking fluid. And then I also used it on pretty briefly on that bubble like fruit dropping water spot. Because there was a really good bubble tutorial for X particles. But yeah, this was the first time I really dug into it. And I was pretty amazed. Like it was sometimes crashy, and there are definitely some issues with the software, but on the whole, it was just so much easier to use than X particles for fluids. I'm not knocking X particles. Like X particles is like, you can't have cinema without X particles, but for fluids, like this is the shit right here. And then like another big challenge I had was to make the fluid grow up. Like I just mentioned, like there are these 2 figures that are embracing, right? That I had to get the fluid to make it seem like they were meeting in the afterlife and grow up their bodies from the feet after this vortex happens, right? And I watched a tutorial on this real flow demon called the Magic Demon, which is kind of like X particles follow surface in that it attracts fluids to the geometry. So you like just pipe in some, geometry and it'll stick to it theoretically, but it wasn't working like I expected it to. And I tried a bunch of stuff and I just never, ever got it working. So I was like kind of defeated. And then I switched to X particles, which like turned out to be a terrible idea because for just a small amount of the sim, it took like literally 10 times longer because it wasn't on the GPU. So, and I wanted some decent resolution. I didn't want it to look blobby and stupid,
Yeah.
So, and I used the follow surface modifier, which worked, but that with the fluid dynamics, I used the flip fluids, like an actual container, because you get a little bit more of a realistic fluid. And I tried the SPH fluids as well. Either way, it took a lot longer, and ultimately it worked, but the fluid dynamics just looked boring. It was not interesting seeing this thing kind of fill up, or even though it was following the surface, it just didn't look that interesting. So I switched back to real flow. For a while I thought maybe I'd have to ditch the whole idea entirely, but then I had the idea to create like a cloth surface out of one of the bodies, so that I'd have like the original body, and then I'd have a slightly puffy, like extruded version of that body. And then I'd emit the fluid from the geometry at the feet without gravity and put like an attractor up by the head. And then the fluid would fill in the space between the original collider and the new expanded cloth surface body. So I'm creating like a in-between area for the fluid to go. So I, rather than just filling up the entire body as a container, I'm creating like a thin sheet for it to fill up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, what was I going to ask you? Did you do any wet maps on anything?
No, that was.
I didn't notice any.
Travis David's. No, I didn't do any wet maps because like ice. I don't know if that even makes sense. Like ice getting wet.
Well, you know how there's like not actual dry ice, but you know how there's ice that's like almost it's so frozen that it's dry to the touch.
I know.
Like if water went over it, there would be a little bit of a gloss.
A trail. Yeah, that's a cool idea. That's just way beyond, like, it was already hard enough, Yeah. But what I did do is I hit up Travis David's for his raindrop shader, which totally saved my ass. And I put that in the bump channel, and that got the dripping, like fluid look for the pre-melt, like kind of like as a story point to indicate to the audience that something was going on involving dripping fluid, maybe and hopefully tie together this whole melting thing that happened, so it's not so out of the blue, But the issue with that thing was that it would loop after a certain number of frames, and I've forgotten to check the loop point on some things because, like, I was deep into this like mocap sequence, like I'm on frame like 5,000 or something, and it's just these random frame sequences, and so like I had this one long shot that I had to render, and like 30 hours in, it hits the loop point, and I'm like, oh no. I got to and I had to re-render the whole damn thing. I could have cross-dissolved it or something, but it wouldn't have looked as good. So ultimately, I just had to like make sure that my frame sequence points were correct. Absolutely. And I just never made that mistake again because I'm like, I can't screw myself over that bad. But
I would love to be able. I know you want to do like a meticulous breakdown, but I would love it if once everything's kind of out there, you got the video out, if we could just sit live and just
that's fine by me.
Futz around in cinema and talk about it. I
don't want to do a breakdown like meticulously. I mean, like, other than certain aspects like the environment,
right.
But yeah, I would definitely love to do a more relaxed format like that for sure.
Because if we had cinema open right now on both our computers, and we could like share and like open stuff, like it would be so cool to be able to see some of these things that you're talking about.
Totally. Yeah. And I can, prep for that and do some play blast and stuff that I can show. But yeah, so the emitting fluid thing. So like, imagine that you've got this character and then this puffier version of the character. And in the space between those two, like the difference, that's where I'm emitting fluid. And that's the container that I'm getting it to fill up. So that it's more of a sheet of fluid. And that gave it a much more interesting look than filling up the entire volume of the character. Right.
Right.
So, and that worked like immediately. I could see it in real time. Like, it was amazing. I was like just watching this whole character filling up, but in a much more interesting way. And yeah, like because of the GPU simming, I could just watch that happen, in real time. And then the pressure of the fluid caused it to fill up that space anyway and push the fluid upwards as it, lifted and filled up. And then the final piece was just adding a vortex daemon, and that causes the fluids to swirl upwards as they climb, which caused a really cool look. So it's like these swirling fluids that are like, creating the bodies of these characters. And for the bodies, this was actually the first project where I used DAZ. And that was super easy. Like, I found this weird pack online called The Art of Hugging. It's like
there's
DAZ
a
is
lot
always
of
so
like
weird, like
weird packs
like
and stuff.
Vague, almost porn, but
right.
And the cover art was so cheesy looking, but it's the thing that convinced me is they had a screenshot of all the different poses, and that just like that was easy to picture, my two characters, and I didn't need the clothes or the hair or any of that stuff. I just wanted the form of the body, just like big people-y forms, for this fluid, because it's not like it didn't need to look like the original characters, but it was as easy as downloading the Genesis 3 model and then importing two of them. And then you just double click on the one pose you want, and it snaps into that, and double click on the right pose. And so they actually had an option where like, the two of them are hugging. One's kind of embracing the other, like wrapping the other with their arm. And so I could have had it either way. Like, they had the option to have the left one doing the hugging pose or the right one doing the hugging pose, which is kind of cool. I guess you could do that same thing with just a symmetry object, but whatever. It's kind of cool that they gave you that. So yeah. And then, you just export an OBJ and that's
DAZ,
it.
like, it is weird, like some of the packs and stuff available. It's like there must be a lot of like weird,
it's
porn stuff coming out of it.
It's definitely the thing that everybody uses for, as far as I know. That's what I've always heard, is that it's the thing, that's used for the CG porns.
Yeah, well, and a lot of video game stuff too.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's weird. There's some weird fetishy
but it's super useful.
There.
It's like extremely between that and Mixamo and Adobe Fuse, those are some really useful tools to get you like quick access to animated characters or just like posed characters, so you don't have to work that out yourself. It was only like $12 for that pack, so it's like extremely cheap as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all I got for my little breakdown about the fluids. But the moral of the story is Real Flow is pretty dope.
Well, we need to do that deal. Now, this Thursday is Liam live.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the next Thursday. I don't know if that's too soon or not.
I don't know if the video will be out by then. I need to check on that. Let's do the following Thursday because
but not the following, but 2 Thursdays from that because it'll be Redshift Thursday again, and I think that'll work well.
So the 19th is what we're looking at?
Yeah, the 19th. That should work.
That should work for me too.
That would be a fun live thing to do. So
sweet.
Cool, bro. Well, this has been probably a really long show. I have not been keeping track.
It's really long.
It's
like I've been recording for almost 3 hours. So yeah.
Well, it is a David Ariev show, so you know how that goes.
Like you do.
So I think we need to get out of here. I'm starving. I'm ready
too.
to eat.
Yeah, I only ate a little bit of the food that was so graciously brought to me, so I'm gonna
your schmoopy breakfast.
My schmoopy breakfast.
It's like 3:00 where I am, so I haven't eaten today. So I already ordered my Uber Eats, and hopefully it's not like boxes of chicken this time. We'll see.
Hopefully not.
So rate us on iTunes. Leave a review. It helps get our ratings up, and subscribing on your podcatcher of choice is the same thing. You can subscribe to our newsletter. We really are contemplating actually sending one out pretty soon, so look for that. You can say you've been there, done that, got the T-shirt with the No Brograph, No Mograph tee, the Gaten D. Simone limited edition shirt, Paul Bab Feel the Bad 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders, and then the Render Things shirt and hoodie as well, our most popular item. All available on Brograph.com or on Amazon. If you just search for Brograph, you'll find it. And of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Brograph.com. So check us out there. David, people can find you at ariavisuals.com, right?
You got it. Yep. That's the one.
Pretty much on all the other social thingies.
Yep.
You have the Insta and all that other stuff. As the kids
I think I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram. I've kind of abandoned Twitter a little bit. I'll post my bigger projects there, but I can't keep up with everything. But Instagram seems pretty intuitive to me and like a good way to have a portfolio. Like Twitter's fun for engaging with people and talking, but there's so many things like Slack that you can do that on too. So I've kind of let that fall a bit back because like it's not as much of a portfolio app. So yeah, Instagram and then Facebook is where I mostly communicate with people on the Octane Facebook group and one-on-one. Send me a friend request because I'll accept it because that's how I do.
And I won't. Sorry, I got to meet you
Dave's
in person first.
He's got to feel all secure before. What if you're some bot trying to steal his identity?
Whatever. No, it's not that. I just don't want to see a stream of photos and posts from people I don't know.
Fair enough.
But if I meet you in IRL, then
and he deems you worthy. No.
Just meet in real life. Yeah. You don't even have to be deemed worthy. You just meet me in real life and then hit me up.
Cool.
If we've had a conversation face to face, we can be Facebook friends.
Cool.
So. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. Till next week. I'm Dave.
I'm David.
Have a good one.
Later, bros.
It's pretty good, I guess. We don't need real music. We'll just do that.
Brograph.com is a supplement to the site Brograph.com.
An online resource.
An online resource.
Something. Yeah.
Real nice banana.
Real nice banana. We don't care how you get here, folks. Just get here. I'll just put all this at the end of the show.
When a client comes to me and says something, man, it gets hard.
All right, let me slowly turn off all the stuff and things. Thanks everybody for watching. So your Periscope is off, Facebook's off.